when Stoke phoned, like my agent rang me and said, right, listen, Stoke have sacked the manager. They want to speak to you. I said, okay, what do you think? He went, well, you're talking, you got the lowest budget here you're going to a club who've got a top 6 budget. Like, they've struggled for years, never managed to get into the top half, but their budget is top 6. So if you want a chance to get to the Premier League, if I want a chance to manage Everton, the best chance I'm going to have to manage Everton is to get promoted into the Premier League. Yeah. So you have to be with a club who's going to give you that chance to get promoted into the Premier League, and then all of a sudden you're on the big stage, bit like Eddie Howe and Graham Potter,
kind of people, or
Rob Edwards to an extent.
Even
you know what
Kieran McKenna, he's obviously one at the moment.
You get promoted into it, and that's where your profile goes higher. And realistically, that wasn't going to happen with Argyle. It was only going to be able to stay up because the financial and the investment just wasn't there.
Today, my guest on the podcast is former professional footballer, now turned manager of Bolton Wanderers. I'm joined in the studio by Steven Schumacher. Steven, thanks for coming on. Thanks for coming. It's been a few months in the making, but I think last time you were hoping to get you on. You ended up getting the job we'll talk about in a bit. But what's your sort of first football memory, like your earliest memory, either watching or playing?
First football memory would probably be, I remember being about 6 or 7 years of age. I had a neighbour who lived a couple of doors down from me. He was a couple of years older than me. He played for Shevington Park. And I remember going to the manager of Shevington Park was one of the other lads who lived on the estate. And they were like an under-9s team, and I was only 6. And I remember my mate saying, I'm going to ask John Zalfella if you can play for our team. So I'd asked my mum and dad, is it all right if I go and play for this team? Obviously they're a couple of years older than me. I was 6, yeah. And I remember going to John's back garden. He had one of them Al goals, not like the plastic ones everyone's got these days. We had like an Al grey goal in the back of his garden, and asked me, can I play footy? And I said, yeah, I can play. And he said, well, kick that ball into the goal then, and let's see what you're all about. So I remember booting the ball into the goal a few times, and he said, okay, come down to training. So I was 6 and joined in with Ricky Lambert, actually, who's Danny Coyd and them, Kirby lads, and played in the under-9s team. So that's probably my first memory. I remember getting a yellow jumper with Shevington Park on it. Nice. And then the next probably earliest memory would be getting a trial at Everton. After that, I think I was like 7 or whatever. 7. Went into the academy at Belfield, and it went from there.
What was that like? Because obviously, I'm guessing you're a big Evertonian. Family of Evertonians maybe and all that. Yeah. So what was that like then, getting the opportunity to go to Everton?
Yeah, family of Evertonians, season ticket holders all our life. My dad and my uncle Kevin and everyone. Everton is in our blood. Yeah. I remember the first trial, we were on holiday in a caravan in Wales, and my half fella was one day said, you can't do whatever you're doing this afternoon because you've got a trial at Everton, so get in the car. And we were only in North Wales, I think we were in Carnarvon or whatever. And I remember getting in his car, and he took me to Belfield, and I remember getting out exactly where we got out. The trees were all lined up on that first pitch that used to be there, the 18 pitch, and there was just a load of little mini games for kids, so there was, I don't know, 50, 60 kids, whatever there was, and running around, and that was my first experience of driving through the gates at Belfield, and stayed there for 15 years or whatever it was.
Mad.
Yeah.
Mad that I could see your face there recalling it as you go through it, you go through them gates, and it was a lovely training ground, Belfield, wasn't it? The way it was, just driving in them tight gates and going up.
Yeah.
And, like you say, the pitch on the right, and then there's obviously the one behind. Brilliant. Absolutely loved Belfield.
Yeah.
So how did that go with Everton then? Obviously you're a kid and you've done well in amongst 60 other kids.
Yeah.
You've done well, but going through sort of the junior teams, what was that like, wearing the Everton kit and playing in games and stuff?
Well, back then I don't even think we even had a proper kit.
No,
so you can imagine, what was I, 7? So that would have been 90, 91, 92 maybe. It was like bare minimal. Yeah. So I remember getting there. I remember even from the first trial, there was a couple that kind of stayed through, and we all went through to the scholars and whatever. Right, a few of the lads there with Michael Symes and Stephen Hussey, and they were kind of my age group.
Yeah.
But we had no proper training kit back then. We used to get given an Al jumper with the Everton crest on the middle. You'd have a white sticker stickered onto your jumper with your name and whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was very basic. It wasn't like the academy like it is now. Like I take my kids. He went to the development centre up at Finch Farm a few years ago or last year, and the amount of kids that are there, world, it's a completely different world. So it was a bit more basic back then, but still equally as good. So I remember going in first trial, must have done a couple more trials, must have had a couple of games or whatever, and then I remember sitting on the floor at Goodison Park in the main stand, signing our first contracts, sitting there, and I can't remember exactly who was the speaker or who was the one who was talking to us. But I always remember him saying, and I still say the same line to my lad. He said, how many of you lads on the floor here want to be a professional footballer? And obviously everybody puts their hand up. And he said, no, how many of you really want to be a professional footballer? Because it'll only be the ones who really want to do it that will make it. So I always remember sitting there on that floor with a little white shirt on, thinking about that. And then that's something that I say to my lad now, and probably to all young players. It takes a lot of hard work.
Yeah. God, that's stuck with you.
Yeah.
Stuck with you. Going through then, obviously, Cardinal Heenan you were at, weren't you? Which is a very, very good school, certainly around your... We had Neil G. Snip on the podcast a while ago, and he was there, and obviously people like Steven Gerrard, yourself, and he was going through like the head teacher had said to him, let's go and try and get the best kids here and you know, make this team. So what environment was that like for you? Because obviously it is a really well-known school in Liverpool for producing footballers, and certainly then. So what was that like for you?
Yeah, it was really good. It was Neil, as you say, played a huge part in it. Neil was our academy coach. We were obviously 10 and 11 going into senior school. He was part of Everton then, and he wanted to keep the best players kind of under his watch, if you like. Right, so it was sold to us as, look, Stephen will play football every single day. I grew up in Kirby, so my school would have been going from Park Barrow into Brookfield School.
Right, yeah.
And I chose to go to, obviously, West Derby to Cardinal, but my mum worked in Iton, so it wasn't too bad. She used to drop me off on Prescott Road, and I'd jump on the bus or whatever into school. So yeah, it was great, and for us, it was a chance to be competitive like every single day in school, but school was like secondary. It was like football at break time, football at lunchtime, footy after school for an hour, and then again we'd walk from school to Belfield for training in the evening. So it sort of all kind of fell into place like that, but it was a brilliant environment because it was obviously an all boys school. There was murder every day on the training ground, on the playground. There was fights going off all the time. And just in our year group, to show how competitive it was, we had 3 lads from the year all represent England in the same year group. 3 lads that went on and captained England as well as schoolboy and youth level. Right, so that shows how good our school was and the team was, because 3 of us from the same age, me, John Welsh and Alan Mugan, all played and captained England, which is an unbelievable achievement, and I think our picture is still on the wall next to Steven Gerrard's in Cardinal.
I mean, that is incredible to see, like, that level, isn't it, of them players. Obviously Alan Mugan was at Everton, wasn't he, and John Welsh was at Liverpool, wasn't he? But the England call then, how did that come? Because I know you represented England at 16 and 19, was it? You captained England, didn't you?
Captained England all the way, every age group, So what
happened there then? How did you get that call in?
So
was it still Lilleshall for you, or had that gone?
No, that gone. I think like Franny Jeffers' age and Peter Clark's age, they were sort of the last year group for Lilleshall. For the school, and we didn't go to school. Obviously, we were in Cardinal, but the England sort of setup used to work like you'd have a regional assessment centres when we used to do in Padgate, which is like the other side of Warrington, where you'd get like the Man City kids, the Man United, Liverpool, Bolton, the best kids from the area would go and train for a few days, like you'd stay over in Padgate, you'd do a couple of days training, you'd have a couple of in-house games against each other, and basically the FA coaches would keep an eye on you, and that was probably from around 14, I'd say 13, 14, so they were aware then of who were the best academy kids coming through the country, and then there'd be one of them regional centres in Birmingham, London, up in the northeast or whatever. So we were the northwest centre, and then I think when it got to like under 14s, under 15s, I think that's when the schoolboys, because it used to be England schoolboys before it went into you represent England or whatever. So that's how it started. We went for trials for England schoolboys, and all got in. And the first games of the England sort of setup was the Victory Shield.
Oh yeah,
kind of thing. I don't think they're still doing the Victory Shield now. I think it's stopped.
So, yeah.
But back then, that was like a massive deal. It was like showcased on Sky Sports. It was a huge thing to like get in that. And if once you got into that sort of setup in the England schoolboys, that's when kind of all the agents back then would start tapping into you, and they would go to the games, and you sort of your career kind of started to take off. So getting selected for England again was unbelievable achievement. Played in all of the Victory Shield games. John Welsh, as I say, was captain for the Northern Ireland game, which is our first game. He was suspended for the second game. He got a red card or whatever, so he couldn't play. And then I took the captaincy on the Wales game and captained against Scotland and scored the winning penalty against Darren Fletcher's kind of team. We were the same age group.
Okay, yeah.
So that was like on Sky Sports, your name's out there, you're starting to get recognised as a prospect, as a young player, and obviously being at Everton and being part of their academy still, it was brilliant. That was the excitement all sort of started.
I remember obviously the name, because it's obviously associated with motor racing, obviously, and so you're there and you're like, quite an exotic name, who's this? Because there was sort of that buzz at Everton around you. Obviously there always is with young players. You hear a name, you go, we all want the next like sort of Steven Gerrard, Wayne Rooney type, don't you? But so I remember that there was like quite a buzz, and obviously going and playing in that, and that's a huge thing, being on Sky. That playing at that age, captain and scoring, what an unbelievable achievement anyway for you. Even if you'd never done anything else, to actually go and do that is brilliant. Your family must have been really proud. Your dad must have been so proud, whatever.
It was I say it was an exciting few years from like 15 to 19. Some of the experiences that we had in the England setup. So you can imagine a firm of Scousers from Kirby. Every time we were in England, there was a coach put on, and they went everywhere. We played Germany at Middlesbrough in the European Championships. We played Brazil at the Stadium of Light. We played France at St James's Park. And whenever there was a game, wherever it was in the country, we played France down in Tottenham Hotspur. Like, my family were there, and the director's box and the hospitality was always chocker. I always needed about 30 tickets, and it's never been any different throughout all my career. So hugely supported by them all, and as I say, some great experiences. I went over to Brazil for a tournament one year. We went, I think it was under 17s or 18s, and we got absolutely battered. We went over there in the height of summer in Brazil and played against Uruguay, and we played Brazil, we played Mexico, we played Japan, and we played France over in this tournament, and we lost every game for England, and we had a really good squad, but it was just too hot. We couldn't handle the temperatures and whatever, but just them experiences.
Being in
at
Brazil.
that age, being in Brazil, being on the Copacabana beach, playing two-touch on there at 17, it was incredible, And when you're in that, when you're doing it, you're not sort of taking all that in and thinking, this is amazing, like, this is what an opportunity. You just think it's normal. It's only now when you think back about it, thinking, wow, like, imagine my son doing that. It'd be incredible.
Crazy. Getting obviously the scholar full time at Everton, big thing, and obviously you do really well. So and again, like you just said, when you're in it, you can't see it, can you? You're just doing, you're just going through the processes. But what was that like to go into Everton full time and being an Evertonian, family of Evertonians, to the next minute that's your job, you're in every day?
A dream come true, to get offered the professional contract at Everton. I sort of probably signed my professional deal when I was about 15. You couldn't sign back then until you were 17.
But it was guaranteed.
Going through the England setup, getting that recognition, getting in them squads, getting people aware of who you was, that kind of all started around that time. And being an Evertonian, I obviously only had one decision. Neil Dewsnip tells a good story about it. Like, we had West Ham at the time wanting to buy us, wanting to buy me and pay a real good fee to go down there. I obviously didn't fancy going to London, but it was a big opportunity, a big outlay for that. I had Man United on the phone. I actually went and sat in a house for someone. I won't say who it was because I don't know what. Yeah, it was a million years ago anyway. But I went and sat in a house of someone who was really closely linked to Liverpool. Sat in there with them, with me dad. I remember it clear as day, and them sitting down talking to me and saying, "Look, we want to sign you. We Everton have offered you a good contract. What they've offered you on wages wise, we'll beat that. And what they've offered you on signing on fee wise, we'll double that." So, and I got offered a decent deal at Everton. I was like captain of my country and whatever. So it was a lucrative deal for the age group.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, sat there and listened to the representatives who were really high up in the club. And I remember getting in my dad's car, pulled out the driveway of the fella's house that we were in, and got on the road. He said, "Well, what do you think then?" And I said, "Nah, you're joking, aren't you?" I said, "I'm not going to go play for them. No way." I want to play for Everton. Yeah. So back then, I thought, well, I'm 15, whatever it was, 15, 16 maybe, and going, well, I've got the world at my feet, and my dream is to play for Everton and go and make it there. So it was an easy decision for me. But when you think back in hindsight, if a West Ham, if a Man United, if a Liverpool had paid that type of money for a player at that age and spent that sort of outlay, well then they kind of might have had to justify that to their bosses, and you get in their academy then and then would probably get pushed along. Yeah. Whereas when you've been through Everton from 7 and you're now 15, 16, you're just part of the fabric. You were obviously highly regarded, and the opportunity was still there for me, but it didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to. But still again an amazing journey at Everton, but probably didn't get to the level that I wanted to get to.
Did you ever think you made the wrong decision then? Or did you a couple of years later? Or?
Yeah, we spoke about it for years, and afterwards when I had a football league career, and said, imagine if I'd have done this. But everything happens for a reason. You pick your choices, you make your decisions at the time for what you think's best, and your opportunities fall for you or they don't. And yeah, who knows what might have happened, but I might not have been with I was with my wife now. Yeah. I was with her at 15. If I'd have moved to London, might not have been with her.
No.
So everything happens for a reason, and in the end, if
that's a good thing, isn't it?
Good, yeah, it is a good thing. Yeah, yeah. She's been there from day one, but it's you make your decisions, and life takes you where it takes you.
You haven't done too bad, mate. You haven't done too bad at all. So, what happened at Everton then? You're obviously there full time, big reputation, playing for England, still doing well. You're in the youth team. Yeah. The
FA Youth Cup run.
Was it the one in 02?
Yeah, when we got to the final, yeah.
Monster blew always, you blew that one. Yeah. Was it that run, wasn't it? So obviously you're doing well, David. The Villa games are on Sky and everything. Do. What was happening at that time for you?
So we'd have been 17 at that time, probably 18 in that FA Youth Cup run. Yeah. Walter Smith was the manager. So Walter and Archie were really big fans of me. I used to go and train every now and again with the first team when they needed numbers. It would be myself, Stephen Beck, Alan Mugan would get called up to the first team every now and again, and say highly regarded in the England setup. And going through the FA Youth Cup, which was, again, more exposure. Yeah. Colin Harvey was obviously our coach, who was brilliant with us. So, yeah, everything was sort of going okay. And it got to the point where, must have been January, February, was it, when we made a managerial change? When
March,
when Moisey came in. And Moisey came in around, that must have been about the quarter-final sort of stage of that FA Youth Cup run. Yeah. When Wayne absolutely lit on fire. Yeah. Wayne and Michael Symes were playing up front for us. The team was good. We had some good players. Say Alan was in the England squads. We had a really good goalkeeper. Scott Brown played in that team. So we had some good young players. But Wayne was obviously the standout. He was the best player. And Moisey obviously seen that when he came in. So I think I would have gone into my third year pro after that season, which was kind of David Moyes' first full season in charge as a manager.
Yeah.
So we went into train with the first team then. So we'd done a 2-year scholarship and 18, and you were 19 then going into the first team kind of pre-season and whatever. So there was me, Michael Symes, Alan Mugan, a young lad, an Italian lad who would sign that summer called Patrizio Pascucci, whatever his name was. So there was like 4 of us that kind of continued into that first team year when it was Moyes' first year in charge. And it sort of got to the point where in the pre-season I'd been away with England and we'd done an under-19s championship somewhere, and then I went on holiday somewhere. Once I got back, I think I went on holiday for a week and then was kind of back into pre-season training. And I always remember my first pre-season run that we did round Belfield with the first team, sort of struggled on the run, and I was like, because I'd come off straight back off holiday, having been away with England, and I remember struggling on the run, and obviously that was Moyes' first impression of the young lads. Like 3 or 4 of the young lads did well. I sort of struggled on it a little bit, and being in the first team pre-season kind of took me by surprise, coming from the under-19s into training with the men and international players. Kind of was a bit too much for me, so it didn't probably make a brilliant first impression. Then I was in the reserves, and if you remember back then, just trying to get into the reserve team at Everton was hard. It wasn't like it is now, where it's like under 21s and under 18s. There was less age groups. It was just into reserve team football, and I remember like sitting there on the coaches going away to games and sitting alongside like Sir Lee Carsley and Scott Gemmell and Mark Pembridge and Lee Ty and Alex Nyarko and Nicholas Alexanderson, just thinking of midfield players who were sort of in your position playing ahead of you. I'm thinking this is really hard to even get a game in the reserves. The squad that Moyes inherited from Walter Smith, there was loads of players in it. It was a big squad, and I think Moyes must have just got to the point through that first season and thought, well, I need to clear out in the summer. I think there was like 12 or 13 first year pros, senior pros out of contract, and kind of everybody got released. So I was one of them, just got released, and I went on loan that season. I went on loan to Carlisle. Again, it was different back then than what it is now. Now, if you're trying to take a young player from academy, you have to take them for a minimum 6 months. Whereas Carlisle back then, you could do it for a month. So I went on loan. I played really well in a reserve game against Blackburn at Southport. Carlisle said they want to take me, so I went on loan to them for a month, played like 5-6 games. Then they needed to sign a striker, so couldn't have 2 people on loan or an extra one. Sent me back to Everton. So that went okay, but not brilliant. Bottom of League 2, and then I went on loan to Oldham then in League 1 in like the March, and they had a managerial change. John Sheridan signed me. A managerial change came in. Brian Talbot came in and didn't put me in the squad from the end of March to the end of April. So going back to Everton, there must have been like 3 or 4 weeks left. There was a couple of reserve games left. Moyes must have looked at it and thought, well, he's been to Carlisle, he's been to Oldham, hasn't really made a massive impression on them, didn't even get in the squad at Oldham. I played all right in the last few reserve games for Everton. But I remember just sitting in his office and he said, look, I just don't see you playing in my first team next year. So I said, okay, I probably agree with you, I'm probably not ready next year, but I've seen what this first team environment looks like. Firstly at Everton, then in the leagues, and I kind of know what I need to do. I need to go and get physically stronger, physically fitter. And he said, look, I agree with you, but I think it's just time for you to go and make your own journey. He said, I trust that you will make it as a professional, but it depends on what level you want to play at. So I was gutted. I remember sitting in his office at Belfield, and I remember driving out of the gates for the last time. Like I remember driving it the first time. I was driving out with tears in my eyes and ringing my half fella and telling him, look, I've been released, like, and we were gutted. That was kind of why. So partly my fault. Wasn't ready for it in the pre-season. Wasn't ready to start. Didn't make a brilliant first impression. The loan moves were difficult. The reserve games, just getting a game in the reserves, just training with the first team every day back then was difficult because of the numbers.
I wanted to ask you about that going What were you feeling like yourself though? So you saying like Alan Moog, Michael Symes get called, we need bodies, come and train.
Yeah.
How did you cope with that when you're in the training?
Yeah, I always felt I coped okay with it. I felt like I held my own.
Because as a manager now, you'll be looking when you
look at it,
players up and going, touch is good or whatever, but can he cope? So
it's something again that I work on strongly now with young players. Right. So again, if I go back there, the times are different. Yeah. So if you weren't training with the first team, let's say Moisey had 22 training, but we had 26 numbers, well, the 4 young lads would be sent to the side and we'd train with Andy Old and we'd train with the goalkeeper coaches and we do shooting or crossing or whatever at 2v2 sessions, which are okay, but that's not kind of how it would be now. If you're not training with the first team, you'd be training with a full under-21s group now or with 80 or whoever. Yeah. So it would be different. There was only 4 of us, so we were sort of in no man's land. Yeah. If you didn't get regular reserve team football, you could go weeks without playing a game. So it was hard. Like the situation that we were in was difficult. So when you did get called into the first team, you were always a bit nervous because you hadn't trained for a while with them. You were always like trying to make your point. But I felt like all of us, whenever we went in, held our own. Yeah. But you never felt confident, like, to express yourself. It was a bit like you're a bit kept everything safe, or I felt I've kept everything safe. Wayne was the complete opposite because he never kept everything safe. No. But he knew he was the best player. Right. We were all trying to just keep our heads above water, if you like, or I felt I was trying to do that and kind of wasn't confident.
Would you do it different now? No, what I mean is, I don't. It's easy to say because you've got all this experience and you've played at a good level and everything you're managing. Yeah. When you look back at what Steven Schumacher was like at 18, getting pulled into a first team group, like about Nick Chadwick here, and he said, I was like, get me first touch, like you said, Wayne coming was knocking, putting people on the backside, and he went, I just didn't have that confidence. I was like, nervous.
Chaddy would be the same as me. So that's what I'm saying. Now when I'm with the young players, we had 2 young lads from Bolton. The back end of last season, the under-21s are playing somewhere, the under-18s are playing, so we got 2 17-year-olds to come over with us, and they come over and I said to them, how are you lads? And I went over and introduced myself and spoke to them. I said, how are you feeling? They went, yeah, all right. And I said, are you nervous? They said, yeah. I said, okay, well, I've been in your shoes, so I knew exactly how they felt. Yeah. And I said, so do us a favour, just be confident, like just play your normal game, forget that you're training with the first team players, you're playing with better players than what you're training with every day, so they'll be able to handle it. Just be yourself and enjoy it. And no one's going to give you a hard time, no first team player's going to get on your back, because that's the environment that it is now. But back then, it wasn't like that. Like, I don't remember Moisey coming to say that to me. No. Alan Irvine might have said it, look, be yourself, and Jimmy Lumsden at the time might have said that, but I don't remember the manager saying that to me, because he was obviously focusing on his team, which is fair enough. So I try my best to try and let the young lads feel confident and calm in that environment, because it's not easy. I've been there, and I had Stubbsy getting on your case, and Thomas Gravison getting after you, and Fergie saying, pass the ball to my feet, and they were intimidating, strong characters. The environment's changed. It's probably a bit softer than what it is, what it was back then. Yeah.
I've got to ask you, because you played in the same teams, and how good was Wayne Rooney?
Outstanding, a man in a boy's body at 14, come into the under-16s, under 2 years advanced all the time. When we were 17, he was playing up in the under-19s. I think Wayne's about 18 months younger than me. So he's like October, I was A+, so he's a bit younger. But physically, he was just more capable than everybody else. And then he had that mentality that he didn't care, he didn't give a shit. Like, he was going on that training pitch every day and whacking balls wherever he wanted to, taking shots, making passes, tackling people, like having senior players straight away. He just had that kind of mentality and confidence to just do that, and that's rare. I think we all knew he was special, even at that time, even when he was going through the Youth Cup run and when he broke into the first team, we all knew he was that bit special. But I don't reckon anybody actually knew he was going to be England's top leading goal scorer, Man United's top goal scorer, won everything that he could possibly win. Nobody else probably seen that apart from Wayne. He just had that self-confidence and that belief, and to be fair, he backed it up. Yeah, he was top draw.
Because when he was on the show, he was saying the clip's been clipped a million times. I think now, but he just said, I knew I was the best player at 16 and went in and some of these I thought these are crap. He said I'm supporting them because I'm a fan.
Yeah.
When I played with them, it was easy, and that mentality is obviously. He had all the ability, but to have the mentality as well as
because everyone can have the ability. I was highly regarded. I was technically really good.
Yeah,
so highly regarded in the England circles and all of that. But it's confidence. Football is all about confidence. It's about opportunity. It's about being in the right place, the right time. But it's just about belief, and you've either got that in you, and you do need a bit of luck down the line, because you get a chance and you make a tackle. I played the Goodison, you make a tackle and the crowd get behind you. All of a sudden you think, I can do this. Yeah. But it's not easy to do that.
It goes the other way.
Yeah, he had it just naturally. Yeah.
Excellent player. You move, obviously leaving Everton and went to Bradford City. What was that because obviously people are here and go, Everton, and then it's Bradford.
Yeah.
How did that sort of come about? Was it easy? Was it an easy decision? Were you just like, I just want to get back in?
It wasn't easy, no, because I remember I went on trial, I think, the end of the season. I'd been to Oldham, so Oldham were half saying they'd give me a contract. I went to Wrexham. Dennis Smith was the manager at Wrexham.
Which wasn't Wrexham like it's Wrexham now.
Wrexham like it is now, no. Darren Ferguson was playing. Dennis Lawrence, who came and coached at Everton, was there. Yeah. So I remember going there. They were half-sniffing, they'll offer me a contract. But nothing sort of materialised. And then I got a phone call off our agent at the time. Same agent, Michael Symes, obviously who I'd come through Everton with since we were 8 together. From that first trial, we won them all through all the age groups. We both released the same time. We both had the same agent. He said, look, Bradford City want to take us for a week training in pre-season. You've got a trial. Do you want to go? And we said, yeah, let's just give it a go, because Bradford at the time had just been relegated from the Championship, so they would have been a big club in League One, like a big fan base. Had money troubles, real financial difficulty. They released loads of players. Still had some.
Because they have been in the Premier League.
They've been in the Premier League 2 years before. So they got relegated from the Prem, straight into the Championship, relegated. Yeah. So they were kind of struggling a little bit financially, like the Carboni stuff and all that. So we said, we're going on trial. So I remember going up there. We went on trial for a week, and Colin Todd was the manager. It was brilliant for me, young player. I was only 20 at the time. He was brilliant to come in. We'd done a few days, straight away got us into his office and said, there's a contract there, sign it if you want it. So the two of us stood there. It wasn't great money, but it was a 2-year contract, and we was like, well, we're in the Football League, get a chance to play in League One. Let's do it. So I did it. Michael done the same contract. It was one of them contracts, if you play 10 games, your money went up. You play another 10 games, your money go up. So it was an opportunity for us to go and prove ourselves. They had some boss players. They had Dean Windass, David Weatherall, Nicky Summerby, Danny Cadamazzi was there, Tom Keeney, who's working back at Everton now, was there. So it was good. It was a good club. And I say a massive fan base, and I ended up playing 130 odd games in 3 years there, which going to be then a 23-year-old player with 130 games behind you, your money had gone up every 10 games, was good. You become an established kind of Football League player, which, going back to what Moisey said, like, you need to go somewhere and establish yourself and prove yourself. That kind of gave me the opportunity to do that. Like, if I'd have stayed at Everton for another year, then I might have only played a handful of reserve games, whereas 3 years later I played 130 games and I was up and running. So it was a good move from that point of view, but financially, from Bradford's point of view, it was difficult because they had further troubles in the third season.
I was just looking the 2-year deal in 2004. First goal in the September, and a 4-1 win against Bristol. Do you remember that? Remember the goal?
Remember it like yesterday. Tom Keeney set me up. His
first goal in league football,
First goal in league football, I remember it. I think, pretty sure Andy Oldham was there at the game. He came and watched both of us, and he was made up for us. I remember the game.
So come on then, what's the goal like?
Keeper should have saved it. Just a shot from the edge of the box, I think. So going back to the pre-season, I went to Bradford really fit, and I decided I'm not going to be a holding midfield player that I kind of had been. I'd been a defensive midfield player or a centre-back at Everton. I decided I'm going to try and break forward and get into the box and remodel my game. So I've become a running midfield player really in the leagues, and that was my objective, to try and get 10 goals every season when I can. So
why did you make that change then? What?
I just felt as a young player that was going to be the way I'd catch the eye.
Right,
getting forward, scoring a goal. I was 20, going into a team that had seniors. So Colin Todd said, well, you can run, you got good energy, so there's your licence to break forward. So that's kind of how I went from there on in, and tried to become a goal scoring midfield player in my younger days. And I remember the first goal against Bristol City. I think I got 8 or 9 that first season, and got a few more the next season. I got 10 then, I think, in my last season there. So I got going and started to make make a bit of a name for yourself, which is okay. We flirted with the playoffs, I think, in the first 2 seasons at Bradford, and then in the 3rd season we again, financial troubles, we had to sell all of our best players. Dean Windass left and whatever, and they ended up getting relegated that 3rd season. Colin Todd got the sack, which wasn't good. And but I moved on after that and went to Crewe.
The goal. I was going to ask you, in a world of like 6, 8, 10s, these should be midfield players like years ago, then you could do it all. But what would you say you were, a 10 then, or an 8?
I'd be
an advanced 8.
Yeah, I'd be an 8. I'd be a running 8.
Do you work in 8s and 6s?
6, 8 and 10s. So it's it used to be a 4. On midfield player used to be called a 4 back then. I used to wear number 4 for England, and players the bottom of a diamond or whatever. It used to be called a 4, but it got changed to a 6. But now I would probably have been classed as an 8, a 6 or an 8. I was never a 10 who liked me back to goal and was bright like that. I could just run onto things and tackle people. That was what I was half decent at.
Yeah, you left for Crewe.
Yeah,
I mean, 130 games. Was it the financial? Was that the reason why you left, or was Crewe the opportunity, and you just thought, try something?
Yeah, do you think? See, the relegation season wasn't easy. We'd been fine up until January. We had a chance to the playoffs and just had a horrific run after January. Yeah. Colin got sacked. We had a caretaker manager, David Weatherall stepped in, who was a player, and we got. I remember getting relegated. My contract was up, and we're going in to see the chairman or whoever it was at the time, and said, look, we'll have to give you a reduction, or you can leave on a free. I was only 24, so I said, well, look, I'll move on then. To another club who were in League One, went into Crewe Alexandra, which at the time I thought, well, this would be a good move for me. I'm still young. They had a history of producing players and selling players on, like Nicky Maynard was just left at that summer that I got there, and Varney and David Thorne and all them types of players. They were decent football, like a decent footballing team, so that this might suit me. But when I went, Steve Hollands was the manager, actually.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Obviously Garrett's assistant, and he's been an unbelievable coach. He was a brilliant coach, but it was his first managerial gig at Crewe. Dario O'Grady had gone upstairs, and I always remember going in there, and everything was fine for the first few weeks, and we played Liverpool in first pre-season game, I think it was 2007, this must have been. And
it was. They
were unbelievable. At the time, they'd won something or whatever. They were a good team at the time, like Steven Gerrard and all that. Yeah. And we'd been on a pre-season trip to Portugal, got back on a Friday, played Liverpool on a Saturday, and Jay Spearing was playing alongside Steven Gerrard, and I'm obviously a big Everton fan, and I'm thinking, I've got to set me mark on these two here, because obviously they're good players. And when Jay Spearing got the ball and went to make a pass, and I just left one on him late, just got off my feet, tackled him, took a yellow card first 10 minutes of the game. But like, as he's on the floor, I said, don't take too long on the ball next time. Like, I just wanted to sort of let him know that he didn't have all day on the ball. And I remember going in at half time, sitting there in the dressing room, we were losing 1-0 in the game. Dario O'Grady flew in the door, and I'm sat there and I'm like that, and he come right in over to me and he went, pointed at my face, and he said, if you ever tackle like that in my team for this club, you'll never play again. And I remember looking at him thinking to myself, I was only a yellow card. And I was like, what do you mean? He said, well, we don't do that here. Them tackles, you defend properly, you stay on your feet. And I'm thinking, well, I'm just trying to make me mark in a game. So I remember thinking from that day after the first pre-season game, this might not work, because that's not what I was about. I was about getting after people and putting tackles in and being aggressive, and they wanted people who were just really good on the ball. And it was just a different culture than what I grew up in. Colin Harvey wouldn't have said that to me, and Andy Olden wouldn't have said that, smashing someone who especially plays Liverpool early on. And I just thought this might not...
Colin Todd would have said it to you, right?
No, he wouldn't have, no. And I just thought this might not have been the right idea. And the way they wanted to do things and the way I was brought up, they wanted midfield players to come and receive it in front of the goal and twist and turn and try and get away from your man. And if you lose it in that area and they score, don't worry about it, it's about development. And I was a bit like, this is just a different culture than what I was about. I wanted to get it and keep it and move it and not take too many risks, but they have their way, and what I grew up in was different. So that move, I had a few injuries there at Crewe as well. That move wasn't really great. It wasn't my best, most enjoyment time from a football perspective. No, I didn't really like it.
You made your debut against Brighton for Crewe, don't 1-2-1. Again, just for people listening, Brighton, the club's there. First goal for Crewe against Swindon.
It was a belter goal as well.
Was that a good one?
It was probably my best ever goal I've scored. It was like a volley first time. But ball got played from the halfway line, big diagonal ball. I ran onto it, say the running 8 over the top of the centre back and volleyed it first time right in the top corner. It's probably my best ever goal. So even though the experience there wasn't great, I met some good mates there. And it was a good club, but just not for me.
Not what it was. The couple of injuries. Was that sort of like your first real experience of being injured? And if so, how did you... I'm guessing that was probably your first real experience since you started playing football, because I've seen like 3 months with a hamstring and then had a cut. I mean, still made, even though the hamstring injury, he still had the first season 29 appearances with a goal. And then an ankle injury in the second season, but still 19 appearances, 3 goals, so he's still scoring. And then 33 appearances, 4 goals in your final season there. But the injury, how did you cope with being out as a footballer?
Difficult, because I say 23, first time it happened, I had a knee injury, I had a hamstring injury, an ankle operation, that was like a niggly one, bit of a floating bone floating around in my ankle, so go in and out a couple of times. So the stop-startedness of it at Crewe was difficult. And then you go into the culture of what they were about. You felt like the training sessions were completely different to what Everton's culture was about and what Bradford's was about, whereas Everton was about like high tempo, high energy. It was all about technical stuff. So you'd stand there sometimes for an hour and 20 minutes about receiving the ball and playing a perfect diagonal pass or playing a pass for one of their star players, Nicky Maynard or whoever. And you come off the training pitch without a sweat on, but technically they've seen that they'd improved the individuals, if you know what I mean. It wasn't, their model wasn't solely based on winning games football. It was about developing players and what do the individuals need, and their record of bringing their academy players through is outstanding. And the lads who people will know, like Ashley Westwood and as I say, Luke Murphy, who went on played really high. Like the group that I was with did well, but the team didn't do well. Like we were like struggled in League One twice. Third season, I didn't play a lot, was injured, got relegated. It's a bit like, but for them, they were yo-yo between League One and League Two. But as long as they produced players and sold them on, and kept the club afloat, it was okay. So for me, I couldn't get my head around that, and I
feels almost like a kid's side where you're just trying to develop players, or even academies now where results.
It was very much an academy model in the Football League. And it hasn't probably changed an awful lot in the 20 years since I've left. It's probably very similar, Crewe now. It's what they are. They don't have a massive budget, but it's what they do, which is fine. Each to their own. But for me, probably wasn't a great move, and I couldn't really wait to get out of it. And then when I went to Bury next, that was when I got the love for football back again, and that's kind of when I had my best times.
Were you sort of, by the end of that Crewe experience, then just thinking, just not enjoying this?
Yeah, just not enjoying it, And I remember going to the Worsley Marriott. I had a meeting with Alan Nill, my mate Ryan Lowe, who I played with at Crewe. He'd gone to Bury, and he knew I wasn't enjoying it, knew what I was all about, and he'd gone to Bury and said to Nilly, Shuey's going to be available. at the end of the season, go and meet him, go and have a conversation. And the first thing he said to me, and I always remember sitting down in Worsley Manor, and I went, all right? He went, yeah. And he said, can I just say something? I went, yeah. He went, you look like you don't enjoy football anymore. And I said, well, I haven't really enjoyed it for 3 years, if I'm honest, Al. I said, I've been injured. I didn't really like the style. I didn't like the culture of it. Yeah. I need a change. He went, well, come and play for me. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And he was very straight down the line. He was brilliant. And he's been Chris Wilder's assistant for years. Come and play for me. And I was like, yeah, okay. The money wasn't great. We were in League Two. He said, just get the love of the game back again. I said, all right, yeah, I'll be there. Show us the contract and I'll sign it. So I went and yeah, pre-season was really good. He made me his captain for the opening day of the season, and that first year we got promoted, yeah, and I, as I say, got the love of the game back.
What was that like then, being given the captaincy?
Yeah, good.
Got you back again?
Yeah, unexpected. I'd captained England all the way through the age groups. Yeah. Captained Everton all the way through. Went to Bradford, was a young lad, so wasn't the captain there. Yeah. Went to Crewe, captained every now and again, but didn't play every week because I was injured, so wasn't the captain there. And then when I went to Bury, first game of the season, I always remember it. We went in, me and Ryan were sat there opening day of the season, and Nilly said, look, he said captaincy, and I thought he was going to give it to Ryan, and he was going to give me the vice captain. He went, you're my captain, you're the vice captain, run the dressing room, do the business on the pitch. And I was like, brilliant. So yeah, I was captain of Bury for 3 years and
run the dressing room. What a shout.
Yeah, and loved it. Yeah, had some good times. Bury was great.
I've got to ask you, you were sent off against Crewe early on.
For Bury?
For Bury.
Was I? Yeah.
Will that have been
yeah, probably
a little bit of frustration?
Yeah,
it was 2 yellows, so let you off.
Yeah.
It wasn't it?
2 tackles, that I wasn't allowed to make for 3 years.
I was going to say, yeah. Was that the frustration, not being able to tackle?
Probably was.
For 3 years.
Yeah.
First goal for Bury was against Morecambe in a 4-1 win.
Yeah.
But that season, promotion, 46 games, 9 goals.
Yeah.
So this decision to switch up from a 4-6 into a run of 8 it was paying dividends, it seems.
We kind of played, we sort of played 4-4-2 at Bury. Lowy had dropped down as a 10, and we had Nicky Josie, who was really good lad on loan from Man United. So we played an old school 4-4-2, dead simple. Yeah, could get on the ball deep, could run forward, developed. I figured out I could shoot from outside the box, scored some real good goals for Bury from long distance.
Right, yeah.
And yeah, that season, I didn't realise I played 46 games, but that season, say, just playing every week and having the trust of the manager, say, giving us the captain's armband and being with a good group of lads. I think that was the time as well, being at Bury. We got promoted, and we wasn't probably favourites to get promoted. We went there, so the budget wasn't great, but we had a real good team spirit and a real good group of lads, and that was kind of the time, 25, 26, where you're thinking team spirit and going out and being socially mates is really important. Right. So we got through that season. Obviously, we did think we finished second in the league or whatever, and got a promotion with good, honest lads. Yeah. And then the second season in League One, similar, we stayed up, we did all right. We think we finished 10th in the second season. Again, because we were all a tight unit. Yeah. And
you're starting to see the value of that.
Starting to see the value then. Yeah. I say about being a good group of mates, and then we've sort of took that into the coaching world then as well, you know what I mean? About like not recruiting people who are big hitters or, you know, big egos.
All knobheads.
All knobheads,
I've heard Ryan say before, no knobhead policy.
Yeah, trying to just get a good lads and a good group of lads. And if you get that, it can take you really far,
Second season, couple of injuries, but still play 34 games, 6 goals, still putting the ball in the net. Yeah. And then the final season for Bury at that time, 12-13, 44 appearances, 10 goals, double figures. Yeah. But Bury were relegated, but you got 3 awards. You won 3 Player of the Year awards. So obviously you had a storming season despite the difficulty. But there was a lot of financial stuff going on, wasn't there, at that time?
That's kind of followed me a little bit. Where all the clubs that I went to, no one had any money. Bradford struggled and had to sell players. Yeah. Berry in the third season. We sold Lowy in the pre-season. We end up selling him. I think he went to Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah.
He done really well in League One. He was our leading goal scorer, got us promoted, leading goal scorer in League One. And Sheffield Wednesday come in on deadline day and took him. We end up getting another centre forward in who wasn't as good.
Yeah.
Goals come hard to come by. We sold 2 wide players who had got us promoted, did well in League One. Because basically the owner there at Bury had run out of money. His business away from the club was struggling, couldn't put any money into it, so we had to just sell players and get loan players in, and when you do that it becomes difficult. Again, we had a change of manager. Kevin Blackwell came in, tried to bring in loads of different trialists, and that team spirit that we'd had for the first 2 years kind of just disintegrated in the third, and we struggled. And I remember getting injured towards the back end of that season. I think I had a hernia, or played the majority of that season with a hernia. And it was tough, but as I say, personally I did okay. I ended up getting 10 goals. I think I was leading goal scorer, which shows your midfield player is how we were struggling. Berry went down, and I got a move to Fleetwood after that. Which was the only club I would say that actually had any money at the time that I'd ever played at.
Fleetwood then, moved on from Berry. Fleetwood. First goal was actually part of a hat-trick against Newport County. 3 goals. That one slipped your mind. 4-1 win. 4-1 win. That was your first goal, but
only hat-trick.
The only one.
Only hat-trick.
But that season got promoted. To League One, 32 appearances, 5 goals. Beat Burton 1-0 to go up.
Beat Burton at Wembley. A up and down season for me. That a couple of injuries again. Coming probably back off. I did miss the pre-season because I had a hernia operation in the summer. If you don't do a pre-season as a player, it's a proper struggle. So I was in and out of the team, but got going. Played second half of the season relatively injury free. Played all the way up until the end of the season, got into the playoff semi-finals. We played York in the semi-final. York were decent at the time. Beat them 1-0 away at Boodham Crescent. Played them at home at Fleetwood, and it was 0-0 the game. It was a terrible game, but it was whatever. Second leg of the semi-final, just need to get to Wembley. And I remember coming off the pitch, manager Graham Alexander was the gaffer. He took me off the pitch with like 4 or 5 minutes to go, and I played as a holding midfield player then. He wasn't like asking me to run forward. I was a bit more of a defensive midfield player, so less goals. He took me off for 5 minutes to go, put a lad in there, Alan Goodall, who was a bit more of a centre-back but played as a holding midfield player at times. So he played the last 5 minutes. So I'm sitting there thinking nothing of it. 10 days, 2 weeks past, whatever, before we played a final at Wembley. I'm thinking I'm in the team, training fine. Thinking I've played all the end of the season. 2 semi-finals started. Thinking I'm in the team, and then again, fame of my family going down to Wembley, 50 odd on a coach. And Graham Alexander pulled me on the day of the game. The day before the game it was. We were training at Chelsea's training ground down there, and he pulled me. He said, "Listen, you're not going to start the game tomorrow." And I was like, "Why not?" He said, "Well, tactically," he said, "I'm going to go with Alan Goodall in there because Burton are really direct. They boom everything on us. He's going to edit in front of the back four." And I was like, "Yeah, but the pitch is massive at Wembley. Like, if we play our football and pass the ball, we'll destroy them." He said, "Yeah, I know what you're saying, but we've played Burton 3 times this year. We played them in the cup, and they beaten us 3 times. Or they drew 1. They beat us in the cup." He said, "Because we haven't been able to deal with their physicality and their directness." And I was a bit like, I just don't agree with it. And I couldn't get my head around it, and I was like arguing with him for ages. And I remember going to the training session, and I probably didn't train well. My body language probably wasn't great. I can't hide that I've got a cough on. I remember being like really frustrated, and then I remember him speaking to me the next day, and he said, "Look, you might be in this situation in one day where you're having to make a tough call. You've just got to get on with it." So I was like, okay, on the morning of the game, no problem. Went there with the team, encouraged everyone, was a good teammate in the dressing room, supported everyone on the sideline, didn't get on the pitch at Wembley, and I was gutted. So I was like, okay, yes, Sam, did my job, whatever. We got promoted, goes back to the hotel. He starts to talk to me in the night in a hotel bar as we're having a bevy, and I went, "Listen, not now, I'm not in the mood, sort it after in next week or whatever." So we arranged to meet in a hotel the week after, and I said, look, just clear the air, like, is it something against me? And he went, no. He explained everything that he's seen. He went, look, this is what I need you to do in the off-season. He said, don't forget, you might be sat in my position. This isn't an easy conversation, but that's why I had to do it. And I said, well, I accept it. You got the job done. And yeah, he was spot on, because I've now coached and managed at Wembley, and I've had to have conversations with people that are not easy conversations, and I have to say to players, I need your body language to be right. Yeah. But as a player, you just don't get it. No. You can't see it. But as a coach, you've got to see it from all angles, and it always sticks with me now. Like, I was a bit of a twat, and I shouldn't. Yeah.
I know, but you can't prepare yourself for that, though. If you're building and playing. Yeah, that decision is no matter what, and that happens any level you're ever going to play at. You always think, I should be playing no matter what. Yeah. But you're right. You step back now because you're in a different position.
No, I mean, it's huge.
You're having to do it, and it's like,
okay, that must have been easy for him. Yeah, but yeah, everything happens for a reason.
Give you good experience anyway. Yeah. 14, 15, 33 appearances that season for Fleetwood.
Yeah.
You left there with 72 appearances and 5 goals for Stevenage. Yeah. So what sort of happened? Yeah. Was it a couple of injuries again the next year, or just not playing as much?
So the way it was at Fleetwood, they were the big fish in the National League. Yeah. Gets into the League Two. Yeah. They recruited players that were better than League Two. Yeah. To get out of League Two into League One. Yeah. We got into League One. We were in and around 8th or 9th, so towards the playoff mix coming into December. And again, played every game up until Christmas. I played 22 consecutive games. Yeah. We went on a Christmas do to Dublin, came back, Boxing Day fixture. I'm on the bench, and I'm like, okay, whatever. We've had this conversation before. I'm on the bench, no problem. Didn't get on. Day after the Boxing Day fixture, the 29th, on the bench again. Okay, whatever. New Year's Day, on the bench again, didn't get on. So I went to see the manager, like the 3 games in a week. He says, everything all right? He went, not really. I said, what's the matter? He said, the owner, Andy Pilley at the time. I said, yeah. He said, he doesn't want to give you a contract for next year. He's reducing the wage bill next year. So I said, what are you on about? He said, if you play one more game, it automatically triggers a year extension. And you're our top earner, along with, there was like 2 or 3 of us in the same situation, but they hadn't got to 22 games yet. I'd played every game that season. So I was like, well, what do you mean? I said, I'm playing every game. You pick me every week. We're doing well. He said, I know, but the owner said to me, I can't play you because you've got this clause in your contract. So unless you take the clause in your contract out, then you can't play. And I said, fuck that. I said, I'm not doing that, no. Well, I said, sell me then, or let me go, or whatever. Yeah. So I got to January. All through January, it was a bit of a standoff. I just trained. I didn't play. I wasn't in the squads. I just trained. And back then, again, not knowing what the rules were, I just thought, well, whatever, I'll just move whenever I need to move. So the January transfer window, my agent wasn't around at the time. There was a standing agent. Kind of didn't advise me very well. Right, yeah. Got to the end of January, goes into February, and I said, listen, you're going to have to just get me out on loan. It's not changing. And then I went to the club and said, send me out on loan, whatever. And he said, the only place you can go out on loan is non-league, because the transfer window had closed in the Football League. Yeah. So I was like, well, I'm not doing that. I'm playing in League One. I'm not going to the National League just to play games, to play an extra 20 games. So I got in touch with the agent who was acting for me, and then I ended up going into Fleetwood and saying, right, look, let's terminate that contract, do a new contract, which was, again, dead awkward, like for next season, or it was legally, I can't remember exactly what it was, but basically I was foregoing the extra year. I was getting more appearance money to play from February till the end of the season. Right, okay. Because I thought, well, if I'm out of contract and I don't play for 6 months, I'm just going to struggle to get a job. So that's what happened. So that's why I only played 33 games. I wasn't injured, but there was a spell where there was 7-8 weeks where I didn't play a game. Involved. And then came back in February, played till the end of the season, and was released, which was mental. But that was what Fleetwood did. Yeah. They got players in, got rid of them all, and then started again. So I had to move on, and I went to Stevenage. Yeah. Because my good mate Mark Hughes had signed there, and I thought, it's back in League Two. I've got promotion out of there before, twice. These are saying they want to get promoted. I'll go there and try and do it again. Yeah.
Your face tells me it wasn't a great decision.
It wasn't a brilliant decision because I could have gone to Hibs. So Stubbsy was manager at Hibs at the time, and Andy Oldham was his assistant. So they wanted to sign me. They were in the Championship at the time. They wasn't in the Scottish Premier. If they were in the Scottish Premier, it would have been a no-brainer. They'd have just gone. But they were in the Scottish Championship.
Could have been part of the winning the Scottish FA Cup.
Exactly, yeah. So they offered me a contract. It was an okay contract, but Stevenage offered me more money. And I had a young girl at the time. She was 4, and my little lad was 1. And the difference in it wasn't much. It was something like, I don't know, it was like 500 quid a week or something difference, which isn't amazing difference. But for me back then, with 2 young kids, I got on the phone to Stubbsy and said, look, Stubbsy, these have offered me £500 a week more. He went, well, that is the most that I can get to. So I said, well, unfortunately, I'm going to have to go and take it because that's a big deal. He went, all right, yeah, sound, good luck. So I went to Stevenage, played. Teddy Sheringham was the manager, he was sound, played every game up until November and did my cruciate in November away at Bristol Rovers. So got injured, was going to be out obviously for 9-10 months, and that summer, say that season when I was out injured, Hibs went on and won the Scottish Cup. So I'm sitting there going, oh my God, like I could have been part of that squad. Winning the Scottish Cup, winning a trophy. They got promoted that year, I think, as well, back into the Scottish Premier League. And I'm sat there with my knee in a brace all summer. But again, everything happens for a reason.
It's all character building, mate.
That's it.
Honestly. What happened the next season? You come back 30 appearances, 6 goals with Steven, so back fit. But I mean, what was that? What was the ACL like? Because it's a 9 month. I think you were out for 9 months. That's roughly what it is with everyone, isn't it? Yeah. How did you get your head round that? Yeah,
tough. But at 31. Again, everything happens for a reason. It happened, and I'm sort of thinking anyway, I need to get back up north because I lived down here with Husey for a bit, who's now my assistant manager.
Mark Husey was at Everton?
He was at Everton.
Centre-back.
Yeah, so I lived there for the first year with him in an apartment, and we used to travel back up and down the motorway to Liverpool on days off.
Right,
Missus and the kids were up here, so we used to do that. But every now and again, you get beat on a Saturday and the manager would say, like, you're in tomorrow. And then we'd have to get on the phone to our birds and go, listen, we can't come home. And they'd kick off. Yeah. And then we'd have to stay down there. So I got injured in November. My missus and the kids then said, like, we haven't enjoyed living apart for 12 months. Yeah. So we're coming down to live in Hitchin in Stevenage. So I was like, okay, sound. So she come down. I got through the rehab, got myself back fit in September, played, I think, end of September, beginning of October, whatever. Got going until the end of the season. In that time, from September onwards, my missus's mum got ill. So I said, right, definitely now we're moving back up north because she's got like terminally ill where we need to take care of her. Yeah. So she came and lived with us down south for a bit. So no matter what happened at Stevenage at the end of that season, I was saying to the manager, I'm leaving. I'm going to try and get a job up north. While I was injured, I was going in to do coaching at Stevenage with their under-15s and under-16s. Yeah. I started my badges for a while, but I was dropping in and doing a bit more with them. When at the end of the season came, and I said, right, I'm going up north, they offered me a new contract to stay. I said, nah, I need to go. I need to get back up. It's for the family. I'll go to, I don't know, Port Vale or Chesterfield or wherever. I'll get a contract for the same money somewhere, Crewe, whatever. I'll go Aki, whoever, it didn't matter, as long as I'm home. So I moved up north. We'd had a house that we'd bought. So we moved back up north, and the offers weren't there. Like, people were saying to me, come in on trial, you'd had your ACL. I was 32, 33 at the time. So I was a bit like, well, I played like 30 odd games. I'm fit. I'm not coming in on trial. You know, offer me a contract or you don't. And they're going, well, we're not sure. The manager was like, and I'm like, well, jib this then. So I ended up ringing someone who I knew at Everton, who worked in the academy, Joel Waldron. He was like the academy manager at the time. Yeah. And Martin Waldron, who I've known for years. I said, listen, is there any coaching jobs going in the academy part-time? I said, because what I'm thinking of doing is playing part-time and earning a wage. That was kind of nearly what Stevenage had offered me anyway. Yeah. And I'll have a job where I'm coaching and I'm on the coaching ladder to top up me money. So they said, yeah, no problem, come in, do a coaching session and we'll see how you get on. So I went down, did a sort of session at Finch Farm. All the coaches are stood around me and I'm nervous as anything. I've got this group who don't know any of the names, but I did it. And they turned around and said, like, look, we want to offer you a job. And I was like, okay, good. They said, but it's full time. It's with the under 11s. So I said, all right, well, as what the assistant coach went, I was the lead coach. And I was like, okay, great. They said, we think you're really good. We'll develop you. But I said, but I still need to play part-time because I've signed a contract and I don't want to get out of that. So they were saying, all right, well, we'll allow you to do it. It's unusual, but we'll allow you to play for Southport. So I did that, and Southport had an agreement where I only had to train once a week, play every Saturday, so it was cool.
Yeah.
Hated the non-league scene, thought it was so unprofessional, didn't like it at all, but I was there and I was getting paid, so who cares, paying the bills, but loved the coaching. Okay. And yeah, got going. Fell out with the manager at Southport around Christmas time, as tends to happen. New manager came in. He didn't like this fact that I was only there one day a week and only playing. But that was agreed with the previous manager. And I said, well, this is my job, so you deal with it or you don't. And he said, well, let's call it a day then. We'll pay you up. We'll terminate your contract. And in that week, Ryan Lowe got the caretaker manager's job at Bury. And then I had to go back to Everton and say, look, he's offered me the opportunity to go full-time with him at Bury, which was a big risk because I was loving my job at Everton. I work with some good kids with Harrison Armstrong and all that.
Oh, okay,
they were in my group.
Really, yeah.
And yeah, it went from there, yeah. Good. So,
was that
mad one.
How early had you been thinking about coaching?
I reckon from about 25, 26 at Bury.
Right, okay, when you were enjoying it as well.
I was playing, yeah. So I'd done my B licence then.
Right.
I started my A licence when I was at Stevenage, when I was injured.
Yeah.
So I was kind of halfway through that, nearly finished it. When I did finish it back at Everton, they gave me the job. And yeah, so I knew from about 25, 26 that I would be a better coach than I would have been a player. I kind of knew at Bury, I'm not getting back to the top level. And I always had it in my mind from the day that I left my half fella, when I phoned my dad after getting released by Moisey, saying, one day I'll come back and coach or manage you. That was my goal. And I just kind of knew from like 25 or 26, right, I'm going to proper put all my thought to this. And that's kind of how I started thinking about a coach from then on, yeah.
Southport, 10 games, 4 goals.
Yeah. So I scored
still
goals
putting them in it. Yeah, still putting the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah.
So going in at Bury then, with Ryan, I mean,
yeah,
was it weird going, because obviously you've been captain there and all that, was it feel like sort of going back home, if you like, and all that, or was it, were you nervous coaching the men?
I was nervous because I was inexperienced, but I was only 33.
Yeah.
Maybe just coming up to 34 in the April. So I was still relative to the players that were there. I could still demonstrate, I could still play. I was playing at Southport, I was still fit. So I could join in a session every now and again. They knew I was capable and what I was saying was coming from a good place. I'd had the under 11s background for 6 months, which if I didn't have that, I wouldn't have been able to stand on my own 2 feet with the men. That grounding with the 11s back at Everton was the best experience that I had. And any other lads now that I work with who are trying to get on a coaching journey, I always say to them, get in with the kids first. Make your mistakes with the kids, because you make a mistake with them, they'll forgive you. If you make mistakes with the men, you're done, mate. Forget it, you're done. So doing that, and even though it was such a short period of time, it taught me loads. It was carnage every day. I had 22 10 and 11 year olds who wanted to kick shit out of each other every day, which I loved. They reminded me of me growing up at that age. Like everything was so competitive. Like a passing drill was competitive. Harrison Armstrong was in the group, George Morgan was in the group, George Finney, who were all still at the academy, Joel Catesby, Alan Thomas, lads who I now see in the 21s and the 18s, and Harvey Foster. I was just that whole group was brilliant, and it taught me how to deal with situations that I still use now with the men. Because on a Sunday afternoon I'd pick a team, and we used to have an A and a B team. That's how Tom Kearney, who was the head of the coach in my phase, used to want to do it. An A team, the strong players, a B team with the ones who were still developing, and we'd swap over every now and again. So if I'd ever swap over, like one of the lads who played last week in the A team and put him in the B team, I'd get a phone call on Sunday afternoon after one of the Dars must have had a pint and said, why isn't my lad playing in the 18? Why did you swap him? And I'd go, well, we wanted to have a look at young Johnny up in this. Yeah. In the 18, we just decided this week, but he did well last week. Yeah, I know he did well, but don't worry about it. Like, there's another game next week, and the training sessions, we're just seeing how things. Yeah, but you're trying to tell me that is he not good enough? So having them conversations with the parents sort of set you up in the future to have conversations with me players now, because I get the same conversations, but just from a different perspective. So if I didn't do that grounding, I wouldn't have been able to do the men as successfully as we did it, or as easy as the transition. But going into Bury, going back to that, was good. And it, like everything that I've ever done in my life, and certainly in my coaching career, it was a big risk, because it was only a deal from January till the end of the season, and I was leaving a full-time job and a footballing contract to go to a coaching contract that wasn't guaranteed. And if we didn't do well, then I'd be unemployed again. So so that was a big risk, but thankfully it paid off.
Did go well though.
Yeah, it did go well, yeah.
Very well.
Yeah, well, that year that we went into Bury, we were in League One. They hadn't won hardly any games. No. The manager had been sacked. They were going to go down. They were like bottom of the league with 11 points or something when we took over. The owner said, just do better, make us play better football, give us a chance to stay up, which we did have half a chance, but we didn't make it. And then if you do okay, then next year in League Two, we'll have a good chance to get out. So going back to what we had at Bury as a player, me and Ryan, we tried to create that type of dressing room. Bury had lost its identity when I first went in. We had big hitters like Jermaine Beckford was on the books. We had lads called Chris Maguire. We had loads of players who were on big contracts. Right. That were at Bury probably for the wrong reason. Okay. They were on big money. Like Bex was a great lad. Jermaine Beckford was sound, but that wasn't Bury. Yeah. We had to go and get players then who come back to what League Two wages were, rather than big earners in League One trying to get to the Championship. We got lads who just knew what it like to get out of that division. So we just sort of changed the personnel and the profile of the player. Really, we got lads who were a bit different, and we managed to get promoted in that first season under financial problems, under not getting paid for 6 months, which again shows you all about what the character of the players were like, because they weren't getting paid but still got a promotion. Yeah. So
you've left a full-time job, playing, to a year later, maybe not getting paid.
A year later, not getting paid, yeah. Which was.
What did your missus say? Were they difficult conversations?
Yeah, all the time. She used to just look at me and go, lads. And again, shows how good my missus has been for me. She always just says, look, you do what you think's best, and I'm here to support you with whatever. If you think it's the right decision, then go for it. I'm here. So so left Everton and Southport 12 months later, not getting paid.
How easy is it to go in with that motivation then? Because obviously we need money to survive. So you've got a young family and everything else. Yeah. How do you keep everyone? I know you just said credit to the players, and it is massive credit to them to keep going on and doing. How did you and Ryan, as a partnership, as a coaching team, keep that the momentum going? Because there'll be other clubs who are there with you who are stable, where they're all getting paid. How do you do that? But then how do you find the energy to keep yourself motivated? Yeah, so it was really difficult. It's the most challenging. But again, so young in your career journey, you feel like you've seen a lot. So it was dead really hard. The best way I can describe it is that we were just open and honest with the players and told them everything. So Ryan would go in and have murder with the owner, and some days he'd be in there with the sporting director, and some days he'd be in there with the PFA or the EFL guy, and he'd be having arguments galore. And he'd say to me, Shuey, can you make sure the training session's right? So I'd go, yeah, no problem, lad. I'll be out there. I'll make sure that the lads are in a good place, and we go through the training session while he sometimes wouldn't be on the grass because he was dealing with all the shit. So I'd go and do that, and I would just say to the players, look lads, the gaffer isn't here because this is what he's doing for you. He's fighting, he's working hard, and he's trying his best. And credit to Ryan, how he managed to keep us going in them situations as the manager, the leader and the figure was really difficult.
But I would just say to the lads, like, look, he's got your back, so you need to make sure that on Saturday we put it in, no matter what. Do it for yourselves, because if this club goes bust, which we had a feeling that it would, you need to make sure that you're in a good place to get a club next year and a job. And there's going to be no better chance of doing that than getting a promotion. And if you get a promotion, well, everyone wants you. So that was the motivation. We had a chance to get there, and we just wanted to keep it going. And I remember being in the Worsley, and I remember saying to them, lads, you'll forget in 6 months' time or 12 months' time, you'll forget that you've had no money. You'll forget that you're borrowing money off your parents. I was the same, to help pay mortgages and bills. You'll forget all about that. But in 10 years' time, you won't forget that medal. You won't forget that time when we all meet up for a bevy. You'll all remember it. And you were like, yeah, okay, sound. So that's kind of how we did it. And how we got them over the line. And we got promoted away at Tranmere on a Tuesday night, and we didn't stop partying until the following Friday, and we had a game on the Saturday. But that was what it was like. It was that team spirit. We had some brilliant characters, some really good lads in there, and if we didn't have that lads, we'd have had no chance. So it was credit to them.
How did you get on the Saturday?
I think we drew 1-1 with Port Vale. It's a stalemate, but we drew. We didn't get beat, but we
that's all right.
We knew we couldn't win the league. We finished second, but
well, that's all right.
But it didn't matter.
You had a party and all that.
And then the Plymouth Argyle thing. Well, the Plymouth Argyle thing came. This is how mad it was. On that, we were in Nicky Adams, who's a good player for Bury. He's gone actually with Ryan now, and Ryan's coaching staff say good lads, stick together.
Stick together,
we're in his brother's pub in Bolton, funnily enough, and we're playing pool. It's a Wednesday afternoon. We got promoted on the Tuesday, went out Tuesday night, playing pool, and I got a phone call off our agent. Me and Ryan had the same agent, and he said, have you spoke to Ryan? Is he with you? And I said, nah, he's on a flight. He was going to Barcelona to watch Liverpool play in the Champions League. He's on a flight, and I'm with the lads now. And he went, well, listen, Plymouth Argyle, I want to speak to you. Really good club, really good owners. So I was like, okay. So I'm in the pub looking at Plymouth Argyle, reading everything that I can about him. Finally got in touch with Lowy when he got off the flight. He said, lad, Plymouth want to speak to us. He's like, okay, well, I'm in Barcelona. I'll sort it when I get back. We got the game, we'll sort it next week. So our agent organised an interview the following week after the season finished down in London. I done all my research, which I quite often did for Ryan. I'd do the background. He'd do the talking, and I ended up going in the interview with him down in London, and we smashed the interview, and he got offered the job, and I went down there with him as his assistant manager, moved all the family down there. Again, me missus, we got to pick up sticks from the northwest, we're going to the southwest. Are you ready? Whatever you want to do, lad. And we were there,
I mean, good, because you're getting paid, so that's a good thing.
Exactly,
that's a good thing for a start.
So this is how mad Ryan is, right? And he won't mind me saying this. Ryan's amazing, right? He's crazy. He's off his head. So Bury had gone through all that trouble, and it was car crash Bury, right, all the time. They're being liquidated, whatever. And there was another club in the northwest that were very similar at the time, Oldham. And the owner's name was something Lemsagam. I can't remember his name. His first name was Abdullah Lemsagam, whatever. So I'd said to him, look, Plymouth Argyle's amazing, like really secure ownership. 10 years ago I had financial problems, building it back up, they're getting going. The owner's based on data, got a good fan base, all of that. Do you want to go down there? So he says, yeah. We went for the interview, did that. Before we accepted the job, he rang me and said, I've just been to speak to the Oldham owner. I said, why? He said, he's offered us the contract there at Oldham, and it's big money, big budget, good money for me, good money for you. But Ryan, it's exactly the same situation as we've just left Bury. Like, do you really want to go back into that situation? He went, well, no, not really, but we don't have to leave home. And I was like, well, it's your call, mate, and obviously I've got to kind of go where you're going. But if you want my advice, I want stability. I want get paid. I want to get paid for the next 3 years, and have a 3-year contract, and make sure that we're not arsing around with the PFA having to subsidise 25% of our wages. Like, let's just go to a club where we can build and get your coaching career and my coaching career off the ground. And thankfully he chose to go to Argyle, and it kicked on from there.
Because you would have been...
Imagine going to Oldham.
You would have been back in the same.
They were in the National League last year, obviously back up, but had financial problems and not paying wages, and they were in turmoil.
Flying pan into the fire, absolutely. Go to Plymouth, do well, but also you had you had to cope with
COVID, yeah.
at the time. So, I mean, that's obviously, I've had a few people in here who have talked me through their experiences of COVID in football. So, what was yours?
Frustrated. I hated it all. I thought it was all a load of nonsense. Did me head in. Frustrated with the rules, frustrated with the situation, gutted that we didn't get to celebrate the League 2 promotion in front of fans. I know there was other people have a different perspective on it, which is great, which is fine. And I was probably luckier than most, because I was living in the southwest and on the south coast.
Right,
so I could literally walk out of my house, 10-minute walk, 15-minute walk, whatever, on the bike to the beach. And be living in the part of the world, if you remember that summer when the weather was incredible.
It was unbelievable. Yeah.
Like, I was out when the kids were out in fresh air and not in school and doing whatever, and so got through it okay from a mental point of view.
Yeah. How did you cope with like the training and stuff? Because obviously, you know, coming in and being 2 metres apart, and you could only train certain players at certain times.
The thing that wound me up about it the most is that nothing was consistent. It was hard, and football that season, the football season, the actual season behind closed doors, I can't remember any of the games. That's I don't suppose anyone can. It was
like training. I mean, being involved in it might be different, but like as a fan watching games, it's like training games. And when you look back now and you see goals, and there's no intensity. Remember, like again, like Connor Cody was in. He was like, it was weird, because you could hear managers telling players where to run. Like, so it was easy to just go and stop that run, because you can hear it. And he said you can't get that adrenaline going as much because everything's lower key and all that, and it is when you look back now, you just go,
it was,
how did you watch that, and how did you,
it was horrible. It was a horrible time, and thankfully we come out of it. I remember when the fans started to come back the following season, all the excitement and all that passion kind of got going again, and we needed that at Plymouth, because that was our strength. Like, the fan base, the people having to travel down there, the intimidation, we needed that.
Noisy home park on
it's good, and we got it going, and we played good footy, and when the season restarted, the proper season restarted, and we were in League One, then we started the season really well, and played some good football and started getting attention from others, and obviously that's when Preston came calling for Ryan.
I mean, what was that conversation like then? Because obviously you've just said you'd have gone sort of anywhere with them. You'd have got, you'd have gone to Oldham, even though you could, the big alarm bells were going and all that. So how did this come about then? Because obviously he gets a call from Preston. Judging by him wanting to go and talk to Oldham, he wanted to get back up here, which is fine. But then you've got a big decision to make.
Well, I didn't know I was going to have that decision to make initially. Now, Ryan, I always knew, was always looking to move back home, because his family, his kids were older than mine. They were like in senior school, and Jade and the kids didn't want to move down to the southwest, because they wanted to keep that, which was fine.
The base,
mine came down with me, so it was easy for me. I was there all the time. He was homesick. He was having to travel up and down the country, which we spoke about before. It's not easy to get to Plymouth. But I was there on the grass all the time, which meant that I had kind of the trust of the players. The ownership seen me pretty much every day in the building. Neil Dewsnip was director of football, so knew that I was capable of handling the day-to-day running of the team. And when Ryan got the offer to go to Preston, I was like, okay, great. Like, what does it look like for me? Is it a good? What are you thinking? And he said, it's a real good contract. It's more money than what we're on. It's Championship. So I was like, okay, I'm excited. Let me know then. So he phoned me back a couple of hours later saying it's on. I've been offered it. It's all agreed. I was like, all right, great. So I put the phone down to him. About an hour later, I had the CEO of Argyle call me. And I was like, I like Andrew. And I was thinking he was going to say, look, I'm going to sort your contract out and termination and whatever. And he said, look, we need to have a chat. And I said, go on, what do you want to speak about? And he said, the job. And I said, yeah. He said, well, we want you to be the next manager. And I said, well, okay. Do you really want me to be the next manager, or is it an interim? He said, oh no, it's the manager. It'll be the manager title. It'll be a new contract. It'll be a 2.5 year or 3.5 year contract, whatever it was. We really believe that you're the next one. We've had this in mind anyway. when Ryan was eventually going to leave, they knew Ryan's situation. They knew it was eventually going to happen, but they didn't expect it to happen then. So do you fancy it? So I was like, oh, okay, give me a few hours to think about it. So spoke to me missus. Again, she's good as gold. Spoke to me dad. Spoke to me good close mates. And me close mates, Geno, he said to me, ask yourself one question. I said, what? I said, do you think you're ready for it? And I said, well, I don't know until I try. He said, well, you've said that to me on every other coaching experience that you've had. So when I was getting asked to leave Everton go into Everton under 11s, he said, do you think you're ready for it? I'm like, well, I'll give it a go. See how we go. Well, there you go. When you went to Bury and to go into the first team, we'll give it a go. When you went to Argyle, well, yeah, let's go for it. He said, so why don't you go for it? What's the worst that can happen? I went, all right, sound. I'm going to go for it. And I rang Ryan. It wasn't an easy conversation. I said, look, Ryan, I've had Andrew on the phone. I've had Simon, the owner, on the phone. They've offered me the job. And he said, well, you're not taking it. I said, well, I think I will. And he went, well, you're not ready for it. And I'm like, well, I know I'm probably not ready for it, but I might not ever get asked this opportunity again. So I don't want to say no. I'd rather take it and fail than regret not taking it. So he said, okay, good luck to you. So we had a bit of a falling out that first night. The only argument kind of we've ever had. Apart from when we beat them 1-0 this year for Bolton, we had an argument then.
We'll come on to that.
But then the next day again we had agents and actually for Ryan, the best thing for him, everything happens for a reason. He got Mike Marsh to go in with him, who has got loads of coaching experience in the Championship. I had none in the Championship, and for that type of club with them type of personalities, he was probably a good fit for Ryan. And I went on my own and I was the manager of Argyle, and yeah, did all right there.
What was it like then? So you took it. You go in, think you drew your first game, but early on you had Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. I remember this anyway, because obviously someone we both know is a good mate of mine. He was sort of connected with Plymouth as well, and I remember seeing that game, and it was an unbelievable performance, wasn't it?
We played it,
because going into it, you must have been thinking, well, you know, the luck is like what we're looking at is more the league stuff, but this is just a bonus. So, what was it like standing on the touchline against Chelsea?
Incredible. It was my 10th game in charge as a manager. So the best thing about it and the easiest transition for me is because I've been there for 2.5 years and I had the trust of the players.
I was going to say, sorry, you should have really said what was it like standing in front of them for the first game then as the manager. That's really what I should have said.
I think the players were happy because they knew what they were getting.
The continuity.
The managers left, which is not easy, but they knew the coach was capable because I'd been coaching them for 2.5 years since Ryan had been there. They knew I had a good relationship with them. Nothing really had to change. We played the same system that we developed with Ryan as the manager. So sometimes when the manager leaves and someone comes in and rips it up, players would be like, oh, does he fancy me? I've got to try again. Whereas it was easy, it was seamless. We did really well that year. We ended up getting 80 points. And just missing out on the playoffs, which is like a record. But straight away, they wanted me to do well because I just, again, was open with them. I was like, lads, look, I'm nervous. Never done this before. I just need you to give me your all. I'll give you my all. I'll be honest and open, as clear as I can. And we'll just go for it. Let's just go and have a go. We played Birmingham City, who were in the Championship in the 3rd round of the FA Cup. That was like my 2nd or 3rd game. It was Mark Hughes' first game as my assistant manager or first team coach back then. And then we drew Chelsea. I was on my A licence course actually, on a pro licence course my pro licence course, when the draw was made on a Sunday afternoon, and I pulled Chelsea, and I'm like, oh my God, we're going to the European champions at the time. They just won the Champions League. We're going to the European champions. Thomas Tuchel was the manager, and we're playing them at Stamford Bridge, and it was incredible. And I remember going there. We'd sold 6,500, sold the allocation out behind the goal. I said to Nance, who's one of the coaches at Argyle, big Argyle fan, all I want to do is score a goal. Score a goal and our fans get going, then we're happy. And he went, all right, great. And after 8 minutes, we scored the goal. We went 1-0 up. Brilliant. We should have been 2-0 up in the first half. Chelsea scored just before half time. 1-1. I'm going in at my players, League One, having a go at them, saying, come on, you can do better. Like, take more chances, be more risk, like, be a bit more positive. These aren't as good as we thought, and blah, blah. I completely bluffed it.
Yeah. Got rid of, haven't you?
But Neil Jusnip always laughs. He says, how you went in there and, like, had a go at them for drawing 1-1 at Chelsea.
The European champions.
How did you do that? And I went, well, I just thought that at that time it was right, because we did need to take more chances and pass the ball more. And in the second half, we should have won it. Like, Ryan Hardy, who's just gone to Wrexham, really good striker, he went through 1v1 in normal time, missed the chance at 1v1, could have been 2-1, goes to extra time. They scored early in extra time, thinking, okay, that's it then. And then we got a penalty in the last minute of extra time to make it 2-2 and take it to penalties. And Azpilicueta saved it. So yeah, we pushed them all away. And I think from that day, and even in the half time, I just had the attitude, I don't care who we're playing. We're going to have a go. Like, we're going to go and pressure. We're going to try and pass the ball. We're going to be exciting. We're going to try and be positive. Because what have we got to lose? Like, just go for it. So that's what I've done ever since.
It's the right message, though, because if you'd have gone in at half time and gone, well done, lads, you're doing well here against the European champions. You know, you have got a black eye, like most days.
Yeah, come on, you can do better,
wouldn't he? Most days Chelsea would win maybe 4 or 5 just because of who they've got, but on that day, you know, they pushed them all away. It's unbelievable. Did that give you confidence?
It did, yeah. It gave me confidence. Like, I'm not come to show, you belong here, nothing like that, but just belief that, like, the plan that we worked on. I had a real good coach with me in Keith Downing, who was superb, out of possession. Worked on that, but also my belief and my philosophy is like, look, come on, we're going to attack. Yeah. And to go into our players then and say, like, look, you've just attacked Chelsea, and they were worried, like, big time worried. Yeah. We can do that anywhere. Don't matter who you play, this is what we're doing. This is our man said, this is what we're doing. And even though we missed out on the playoffs, we sort of ran out of steam with 6-7 games to go to the end of the season. We'd used the same group of players, and we just couldn't get over the line. And to get 80 points and not get playoffs was very unusual. But when we went into the next season, that was the message again. Like, come on, no one believed in us last year. We had a real small budget for the league and League One. No one believes in us this year, but we think we've got the tools to cause an upset. There's Sheffield Wednesday, there's Ipswich, there's all the big teams, but we reckon we'll do all right. And we went on and smashed that league that year. Yeah. Before
I go back to that, you were up against the England manager. So obviously now the England manager. What was he like? Was he okay with it?
He wasn't on the touchline. That was the only.
Wasn't he?
Because he had COVID. It was the only negative of that day. But Anthony Barry was there.
Who's this assistant? I'm very highly rated, isn't he? Very highly rated coach.
He was there. Yeah. All his other staff were there. Yeah. They were flying to America. I think the next day they were playing a Club World Cup. The next day or whatever, so he didn't want to be there and then not be great to be able to travel, so he wasn't on the touchline. So that was the only negative.
Did you not get to meet him then?
No, I didn't meet him.
That would have been good, wouldn't it? Yeah. But what a performance, and almost, who knows, then he'd have gone 2-2 and then penalties. Who knows what would have happened. Yeah. Obviously the next season you come up. Were you confident coming back? That obviously, you know, you'd missed out on a final day, didn't you, at the playoffs? Yeah. You got beat at home, but coming back that pre-season, were you thinking, I think do you think like that as a coach?
No, you're always nervous in the off-season, and even now, coming back in, we're going back in next week, you're nervous. Like, you're not quite sure, like, have you got your squad right? The signing's going to work, because it's on you. And you've got to do a lot of work in the off-season. I have a lad who I've worked with since Bury days, Jimmy Dickinson. He was our analyst at Bury. Yeah. Then he was an analyst at Argyle. When I got the manager's job, I pushed him to head of recruitment. So he's got a real good eye for a player, he understands. Right, so in that summer when we missed out on the playoffs, I said to him, why did we miss out? We'd done a review with Neil Jusnip and we did everything. Why did we miss out? We didn't score enough goals at the end of the season. Why? So we look back at all the games. We played against teams who played low blocks because we were like on top and we were the favourites in the game. Low block, loads of bodies behind the ball, couldn't break them down, didn't have the quality players to unlock the door. So I said, okay, well, if we go against that next season, we've got a bit more of a high profile, people will have our eye on us, how are we going to do it? So I said to Jimmy, do me a favour, scout me the best players in the League 2 and League 1 or the Championship that have scored goals, we call it from zone 14, which is just outside the penalty box. Okay. Because if we ever come up against low blocks, we need shooters. And he went, all right. So he came back to me a couple of weeks later and said, I've got two for you. I said, go on, who? He said, I've got Morgan Whittaker from Swansea. He went to Lincoln last year. He got 5 goals. He's left-footed. We were going to change system. We were going to play 3-4-3 because MK Dons played that system and battered us 5-0 the last game of the season. So I thought, I'm going to play that system. I need 2 number 10s that can play the top of that box, that can shoot from outside the box. Okay. So I got Morgan Whittaker. I said, scored 5 goals for Lincoln. Didn't do great. Lincoln not keen to take him back. Doesn't do a load of defensive work, but he can shoot. I said, okay, well, I'll work on a defensive side with him. Who else? He said, I've got Finn Azaz. He said he went on loan to Cheltenham 2 years ago. He went on loan to Newport last year. He got 8 goals, all from zone 14. And I'm like, show me his clips. So he showed me his clips and he's chopping, bending it top corner. And I'm like, I'm going to watch him. So I watched all his games, rang a couple of players that had played with him at Newport and said, tell me about Finn Azaz, diamond of a lad. I'm like, okay, brilliant, I want to sign him. Got him on a phone call, showed him the video, showed him why, showed him the system. Him and Whittaker, both signed. So I'm like, okay, feel confident. Then we got a bit of speed on the sides, few young lads, kept the majority of the group together, but just strengthened in areas where we'd failed the year before. Went into the start of the season, got off to a good start, momentum started to build. The 2 lads who played, Finn Azaz took a bit of time to get into the team. He'd missed a bit of pre-season from Aston Villa. Morgan Whittaker hit the ground running, scored like 10 goals up until January. Swansea, so much so, Swansea called him back because Ipswich tried to buy him. Ipswich had all the money in our division.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, bastards, like taking one of my best players off me. But Finn Azaz and Morgan were the best players in the division. And Finn Azaz has gone on, tried to sign him when I went to Stoke. They didn't want to do it. Tried to sign him at Argyle first and foremost in the Championship. Tried to sign him, got him back on loan. Tried to sign him at Stoke, couldn't. Went to Middlesbrough, and he's going to go again to the Premier League probably because he's so good. But that's kind of why. That's how it works. So recruited well, got good lads, kept to the plan, and we're positive. We got 101 points that year, which is unbelievable. Yeah,
outstanding. 101 points though. Yeah, you got manager of the month, 6 straight wins without conceding a goal in the March. So was that your first manager of the month?
Manager of the month, that might have been
my research said it was the first one you'd won, but I could be wrong here.
So that was
because you won another one.
That was in the season that I'd just taken over from Ryan.
Oh right,
I got manager of the month.
Manager of the month in the September. For the
and then
second one.
The second season was in the September. And I won it back to back, September and October.
That's nice though, isn't it? I mean, it's brilliant for you, isn't it? To just give it a little bit of reaffirmation of what you're doing and just to go.
Yeah, I think Morgan got player of the month as well. Morgan Whittaker got player of the month. So that was nice to celebrate with them. But as always, it's a combined effort. You know what I mean? Like all the staff, everybody, all the recruitment, all of the analysis, everybody.
Pat on the back for everyone.
Yeah, it's great,
isn't it?
Yeah,
getting them into the playoffs. I mean, you're also. Was Wembley that season as well in the FA Trophy? Yeah,
so Wembley was the season in League One when it was my first full season in charge.
That was the first full season, yeah.
So we're in the Papa John's Trophy. Yeah. Like everybody in the first few rounds, you'd try and rotate your squad, give everyone a game. When it starts getting to the group, the knockout stage, the quarter final, the semi-final, you start getting excited. And then, especially when you're watching who were in the other semi-final. Right. So I knew with the Argyle fans, there's going to be loads. If we get to Wembley, we'll sell out. We'll get like 35,000, whatever. And then the other semi-final was Accrington against Bolton. So half of me is thinking, I want it to be Accrington because we might have a better chance to beat Accrington because they weren't as high up in the league as what Bolton were. But I half want it to be Bolton because they've also got an amazing fan base. Yeah. So we went and watched their game. It was at Aki, the semi-final, and Bolton won it. And all of a sudden, you're going into a major Wembley final, and the demand for the tickets, I think it was good as well because both teams were good footballing teams.
Right, yeah.
I think there was like 85,000, which is like, I think it's a record for the Papa John's, the EFL Trophy final. And it was unbelievable. Like, the whole day, the spectacle, the build-up, you know, the interviews, the programme, everything going into it was unreal. But the day itself was a mess. Like we messed up as a team. I messed up as a coach in the prep. We messed up. Bolton were better than us, battered us, got beat 4-0. And it was a hard time standing on the touchline thinking, oh my God, imagine this being a cup final. Imagine doing this for Everton and getting beat like this. It was yeah, it was painful.
But if you can step back from it, though, you've led the team out at Wembley.
Yeah.
Which is, the lad who was in at Everton coaching the 11s, and
5 years before
he's gone in with Ryan and thinking, I've got to have to stand in front of these men and coach, and then the one who took Plymouth without ever managing to lead them out at Wembley. Sure, you have the suit on.
I had a jumper and a shirt and tie.
Oh, nice.
A pair of a nice pair of shoes. And I was smart. Yeah, it was the only time I've wore a tie on the touchline. But
what I mean, the other thing I wanted to ask you, because I want to take you back to when you were playing.
Yeah.
Did you have to have the conversation with someone about not playing at Wembley?
A couple, that you're leaving, and I try and explain your reasons. And then I went with them, look, I know how you feel, because I've sat there and I know you. Whatever I say now, you're thinking I'm talking rubbish.
Yeah.
But this is why I'm doing it. And hopefully it pays off, whereas Graham Alexander's did pay off and mine hit me in the face. So, but again,
what do you think he got wrong then? Because you just said the day was a mess, my prep was a mess, the team was a bit of a mess, and what do you think he done wrong?
So back in 2016, Argyle had gone to Wembley and played Wimbledon in a playoff final. I went there. We went there before we got there, and apparently they just froze on the day. Like, they didn't play any foot. They'd been good that year. Didn't play any football. They underperformed. It was a boring game. The fans didn't have a shot on goal. The fans ate it. So I was like, okay, well, I don't want that to happen again. Like, I want to make it a game that at least it's memorable, and we'll have a goal, and be positive. And so all week in the preparation, I was saying to the lads, this is what we're doing: spread out, pass the ball, big pitch. They like playing football as well. It'll be an attacking game. Let's just go and make sure we get on the front foot. So that was one thing, which, looking back, that's the least important thing in a final. Because no one remembers the performance when Everton won in '95. No. We didn't play great, but we all remember it. No one cares if you win the game. But I was thinking, I want to play and be open and expansive and pass the ball. We were 2-0 down after 10 minutes. So, my message to the players was probably wrong. It should have been 20 minutes, get into the game. They're in front of 85,000. They're going to be nervous. They're going to make a mistake. I remember saying to our wing back who had the throw in, quick, Macca's on, throw it back to the centre back. It was Macca's first touch, the centre back. He's just actually weirdly scored the winning goal in the playoff final for Charlton, Macaulay Gillespie. His experience is a lot different. Yeah. He had a bad first touch, lost the ball. His first touch of the game, lost the ball. They went down the other end, got a corner, scored from the corner. But I should have been saying, no risk, playing their half, first time you get it, turn them. Yeah, but I never,
have a look at them. Yeah.
But I never, because I'm saying pass the ball, spread out, pass. So I got that wrong. And then in the preparation leading into it, I asked the players, what do you want to do on the day of the final? Do you want to go down the day before, see the stadium, or do you just want to do it normal like we do? So we travel, we'll train here, travel, stay in a hotel, be ready, just go to the game on the Sunday. And the majority of the players, or the feedback that I got from the captain, was just keep it as normal, as a normal game. We don't really want to go to the stadium. When we got to the stadium on the Sunday, it was incredible. Like, the dressing rooms had been all completely decorated, the signage, the lead up to the Wembley Way, all the signs, Plymouth Argyle. It was the first time we'd seen it, so we were like, wow. And we walked in and we were like, wow, look at this, like, look at the dressing room, hey, look at this coach's room. And it probably took an hour of the day, or 45 minutes, looking at everything. Whereas Bolton went the day before and seen it. So they just turned up, game heads on, ready, started the game like a house on fire, and we're 2-0 up, game over after 10 minutes. So we just got it wrong. So next time I do it, that won't happen. I'll be saying for 20 minutes, don't worry about it, turn them, get into the game, get your own first touch right, make sure you make your first pass, make sure you do everything properly, win your first tackle.
All the stuff you do as a player.
And prepare, because it's not a normal day, it's not a normal game, it's a final. It's at Wembley, there's 85,000 there, no one had ever been involved in that type of atmosphere before. And everything's learning, innit? I messed up, but we'll learn from it.
Yeah, well, that's... The fans got a day out at Wembley.
Yeah, and apart from... So, again, talking about that, even though we got whacked, we had 8 games to go in the season. And the fans had a brilliant day, and the majority of fans were texting me and saying, and everyone has seen like wow, what an experience to be able to take my kid to Wembley to watch Argyle, all of that. But I remember going back to the team hotel. There's another thing we decided to do, and it's probably the best decision that I made. No matter what happened after the game, win or lose, we were going back to the team hotel with all the family. Right, because it's a big day. We were all having a party, no matter what.
No matter what.
So we went back. The lads were all sitting around. It's a bit somber. until Kirby Crewe turn up, all my family, 40 of them, into the hotel. We're all there, having a bevy in the bar. Everyone gets to about 10, 11 o'clock at night. I'm still gutted, still whatever. My Uncle Kevin's standing in the side of the bar, stands up on a chair. We're going to win the league. And I'm going, oh my God. We're ashamed, because I'm thinking we're in a nice hotel in London. Me and my uncle's singing this song. And the next minute, turning around, and all my players are all dancing with him, saying we're going to win the league. How are you going to believe us? There was Bolton fans in the bar, were laughing, thinking, how are you partying? You've just been whacked 4-0. But I remember saying to the players in the dressing room after the game, this game won't define the season. We've got 8 cup finals to go. And everybody singing and dancing and having a bevy and having a bit of a social time with the family showed how good that group were. We won 7 out the last 8 games of the season and won the league. So it probably kicked us on. Whereas if we'd have won that game, it might not have had same effect.
You got manager of the year.
Manager of the year.
It is a lovely. Again, I know you're saying it, and it is. It's for every. Of course, it's for everyone, because you're a team, aren't you? You're all. That's how it comes together. But as on a personal level, as an accolade, that's a fantastic. Again, just a little nod to. Remember when we didn't get paid for 6 months? Look what I'm sat here now, manager of the year. I know,
and your missus trusting you, like, you do it, take it. You go down, go to Bury, go to Argyle, take the manager's job. So everything
for both of you, isn't it?
It was a big deal, and got EFL Manager of the Year, which was class. And then the best one was the LMA Awards, which is like the whole thing. I got the Manager of the Year for the division, and I got in the Manager of the Year for the Sir Alex Ferguson Award, and finished second behind Pep, who won the quadruple that year.
That's not bad, is it?
Fortunately, he pipped me to it.
Just pipped you to it,
but as my first year as a manager, that's your first go at it. It couldn't have gone much better.
Fantastic. In your mind, was there any thought of leaving Plymouth?
No,
because obviously, what is it, 4 months after the season starts? So you've started the season in the Championship. What are you thinking? Survival?
Stay up. So obviously the lowest budget. We had like a really low budget in League One. We were like 4 million, and people were spending more than what in League One than what we had in the Championship. So we had like a real small budget. So the favourites to go down. Again, we recruited well. We managed to sign Whittaker permanently, Mumba permanently, Finnazaz back on loan. And we had a good start to the season. But there was always something in my mind. I was thinking, okay, there's got to be a time here where your good run might come to an end. You might dip, and if that was the case and we were to go back to League One, fine, whatever. But we'd had a really good start to the season. We were like 16th or 17th, I think, and I'd had a few bits of interest in that summer from Swansea and Millwall and a few other clubs and whatever, bits of interest that I wasn't really interested in going to. But then when Stoke phoned, like my agent rang me and said, right, listen, Stoke have sacked the manager, they want to speak to you. I said, okay, what do you think? He went, well, you're talking, you got the lowest budget here, to you're going to a club who've got a top 6 budget. Like, they've struggled for years, never managed to get into the top half, but their budget is top 6. So if you want a chance to get to the Premier League, if I want a chance to manage Everton, the best chance I'm going to have to manage Everton is to get promoted into the Premier League. So you have to be with a club who's going to give you that chance to get promoted into the Premier League, and then all of a sudden you're on the big stage, a bit like Eddie Howe and Graham Potter,
kind of people,
or Rob Edwards to an extent.
Even Kieran McKenna, he's obviously one at the moment.
You get promoted into it, and that's where your profile goes higher. And realistically, that wasn't going to happen with Argyle. It was only going to be able to stay up because the financial and the investment just wasn't there. The infrastructure about training ground and attracting the better players in the second year in the Championship, it just wasn't there. Whereas Stoke had everything there.
And quite central, really, in the country, not
closer
too far.
To me from home, easier to recruit players, all of that. So that was why, and the money financially, can't argue, was better for me. And from 5 years ago, not getting paid, to all of a sudden you're in money that's going to change your life for, I don't know, I was only there for a year and whatever. But I couldn't say no to that, to my family. Like, this is a big chance for us to do something with it. So I said yeah to it. Now, it was with reluctance, because I loved Argyle and I loved the places down there and I loved the people and I loved the club. But I just thought, well, this is a chance for me, and I might not never get asked to be a chance of that type of club again.
Big
Big
club, Stoke,
club,
really.
Massive club, yeah. But again, in hindsight, and the way things happened, and the director of football that appointed me with that owner, he was sacked 8 weeks after I got there, and the new director of football came in that I never really trusted, didn't really trust me, didn't really get on all that well. Yeah. And I always had it in me, back in my mind, even though he never said it, if he gets an opportunity, he'll bring his own person in. And I just felt that. And when you feel that, when you got that sense that somebody hasn't got your backing, it's difficult. Yeah. And that's what happened. My brief from the owner, from John Coates, when I went there, was to keep us in the Championship, because there was they were below Plymouth Argyle when I went there. Right, yeah. There was a real risk that they were going in trouble. We had an upturn of results in the first 8-9 games. Then we struggled a little bit. We had 5-6 games where we didn't win, and then we finished the season, the last 8-9 games, where we won 6 out of 8 or whatever it was. Did really well, played well, scored some goals. Went into the next season with more optimism. We won 4 out of 7. We played 2 cup games away, beat Middlesbrough 5-0 away. We'd won 2 in the league and lost 3 in the league. That was kind of where we were at the time. And I went in after the international break. After I signed Tom Cannon. I needed a striker. Signed one on deadline day. We went into the international break. He played 1 game for me at Oxford, and then I got the sack, which was just mental for me. I just couldn't get my head around it, but it is what it is. And I got a bit of a break.
I mean, when you get to the summer, you've kept them. Was it he finished 17th? Was it Stoke 16th, 17th, whatever 17th, it was? Yeah. So kept them up, avoided the relegation, reset. Were you still feeling that unsettledness? Not unsettled like you didn't want to be there, but
no, I felt
a lack of trust. Is that what it is? A lack of trust? I
think we just did.
Are we talking about Walters, who's an Evertonian, who should have really?
Yeah, I know. But it was. I think it was just a different idea. So I wanted to recruit a type of profile and a type of player with a younger age group. Who hadn't been in the Premier League, who was on a different career trajectory. Right. That was what I said in the job interview to John Coates. That's how I seen it. It's what I'd done at Plymouth. I wanted to play a style that looked like this. And when we got to the recruitment, I always felt that the players that I was suggesting and the players I was putting forward to the department, I didn't think it was ever getting followed through. And then I would get off with other players, and you just get a sense that you're on the same page or you're not. Okay. And I just felt that we kind of weren't, and I just didn't have full trust that what I was asking for, he was trying to carry out. That's just kind of how I felt. I know you might say different, but that's how I felt. And what it boiled down to, it came to the fact that we spoke about 6 weeks later after they sacked me. And we went and met and whatever, and he just said, look, in my opinion, I just don't think you were good enough. And I was like, okay, well, that's your opinion. But he was only really new to his role. He'd ever done. So what was he basing that evidence on? So that was it. That was kind of how it was. And everyone says, oh, there was a big falling out and there was a fight and an argument. There wasn't. It was a big shock. I just went in and I felt that the players were on board with what we were trying to do. And they obviously just went in a different direction. They appointed somebody else who hadn't done it before, a coach from Norwich, and I think he only lasted 19 games, and he got sacked, and they brought in Mark Robbins, they said he wanted to go in a different direction, and I was like, well, I've kind of took it in a different direction than Alex Neil. Narcissus came in and did whatever, long, and then Mark Robbins come in, which is different again, because it's not the young coach, it's not that type of profile, but it was a weird time. It was, but yeah, it was one of them. I've spoke loads about it, obviously, but it happened, and I didn't expect it to happen. I felt I was learning and developing and getting better, but they made their call, and now again in hindsight, and everything happens for a reason. I think I'm at a better club who are just in a different division at the moment anyway.
We will get on. We're going to get on to Bolton now, but just lastly with that, because that's your first experience of that, isn't it, as a manager?
Yeah.
How did you deal with that coming away? Because I remember seeing an interview with you actually after it just happened, and you were just like, I don't know what's happened sort of thing. And you look, well, where are they? And it's like, well, that's an all right start. It's like an okay start.
I think
given you've got no budget.
I think when I got sacked, I think we were 12th, and they didn't go higher than 12th throughout the rest of the season. So I felt that the team were in a good place, and I think I would have done better with that squad. With a bit, especially we've got Tom Cannon fit and going. I think we'd have been all right. But anyway, it is what it is. I came away from it, and I felt, okay, I'll go and have a bit of a break. I'll have a reset. I'll go. I've been coaching for 5 years non-stop. A lot of change. So I went round and visited a few people. Went and had a couple of holidays. Went into different clubs. Went and like sort of reassessed, done a few job interviews. Only ever done one before, or two because I was in on the Argyle one, but went and done a few job interviews for a few different bits and pieces. So I think from an experience point of view, everybody gets sacked. It's made me stronger, and going to Stoke has made me stronger as a coach, because I know how to deal with certain situations that I'd never seen at Argyle. I hadn't seen that type of behaviour or them type of antics, so I didn't know how to deal with it. But going to Stoke, I learned to deal with difficult characters or, poor standards and behaviour. Whereas now when I go and see that, if I see that happening now at Bolton, well, I know I've dealt with this before, and this is how I did it. So everything is an experience, and I'm not bitter towards it. And I felt a bit sorry for the Stoke fans, because they were enjoying what they were seeing, and they were a bit like, change again, and then change again, like 19 games later, and there's just no stability there at that club. It was just again, not a great fit for me.
Bolton. So how did that come about then?
So again, over the Christmas period, I had a nice Christmas, first Christmas I've ever had off in 23 years. It was really
different one for you.
Different one. Went skiing with the family, which I'd never obviously been able to do. Hughesy and his family come with us, which was good. All the time I was on the phone, agents, these want to speak to this club, want to speak to you, did a few phone calls and whatever. There was jobs that I got kind of offered that I didn't really fancy.
Did you put your name forward for the Everton job?
That I didn't really fancy. There was nothing that really jumped at me, and I thought, I really want this job. And then my agent rang me, obviously Ian Evie left, and Bolton made a change, and my agent rang me and said, right, look, you're on the shortlist for Bolton. They're doing an 8-man shortlist, I'll let you know how it goes. I said, okay. Then I get a phone call, says you're on the 5-man shortlist. Great, let me know when you want to speak to me. Then I got a phone call saying you're in the top 3, do you want to speak to you? And I'd said to Andy, my agent, said, look, this is one that I really want, so I need to get the presentation right, I need to sit with the analysts, I need to go get me research, I need to make sure I'm prepared for this job and understand what it takes, because for me this is perfect. It's a club that's got a huge reputation, huge fan base, huge expectation, a good budget for the league, the location wise works perfect. I think if it gets into the Championship, it's got the capability of what I was expecting at Stoke. It can eventually go and kick on and push to get to the Premier League. It's got really good owners, I must say that is very similar to the ownership and the running behind the scenes to what I had at Argyle. Not that I had at Stoke. So it ticked loads of boxes, and I really wanted it. So I did my best in the interview. I told the owner, Sharon and Nick, I really want the job, and I'm so keen to do it, and thankfully they gave me the opportunity.
So you go in and done well, really, finished at one stage, looked like the playoffs were on. You'd been on a great run, and thought, obviously got an eye on it, seeing how you're doing, and I'm thinking,
at one stage, I remember we went to Bristol Rovers March time, so we were doing really well. We'd won 8 out of the first 9 games, or unbeaten and whatever. We were doing really well. We went to Bristol Rovers and we were 3rd or 4th in the league, and I said to the players, lads, if we win tonight, it was our game in hand, we had a game called off to Bristol before I got there. If we win tonight and we back it up with a win on Saturday to Stockport, automatic promotion is on. It was on, because Wrexham was stumbling, Wycombe was stumbling, Birmingham, we thought, well, they're going to run away with it, but we had Birmingham still to play. I said, it's on. Oh no, sorry, we just played Birmingham, we've beaten Birmingham 3-1, and we were in real good confidence. And I said, if we win these next 2 games, it's there. With 8 games to go, it was going into the international break with 8 games to go. it's anyone's. It'll be one from probably the next 5 or 6 teams. They went, yes, sound. We went to Bristol Rovers. We absolutely battered Bristol Rovers and got beat 3-2. They scored last minute. Like, we missed chance after chance after chance. So that was disappointing. Then we played at home to Stockport. It was a really close game. It was 0-0 at half time. Said to the players at half time, first goal in this game, lads, wins it. So we get a chance. Got to take it. 2 good quality teams, to be fair. We missed a couple of big chances early on. They scored after like 70 minutes. Shut up shop. Yeah. Got beat 1-0. So from going for automatic, 5 days later, we're now, okay, we're going for playoffs. Yeah. And there's 8 games to go. And in them 8 games, we probably need 4 wins. And we just couldn't score a goal. After the international break, the goals dried up. We had the most. We played Rotherham at home. We had the record amount of shots on an opposition goal in any of the leagues in Europe in one single game. We had 38 shots on goal, and like 20 something, or 19 or something were on target. Something like an amazing amount of touches in the opposition box, and got beat 1-0. And it was just one of them. Like, we just felt that no matter what we do here, it's just not happening. Yeah. And we fizzled out. So it was a disappointing end to the season where we didn't get into the playoffs. But from my perspective, it was like, okay, well, a bit like when we missed out on the playoffs at Argyle and we got 80 points. It was a bit like, all right, well, at least we now know what we need. We need to have a bit of a clear out. We need these kind of players in these key areas, and we'll have a right good go at it next year, which we're about to do. How are you feeling then ahead of the new season? Obviously, all of the works that has been going on obviously doesn't stop, does it, for yourself? But you think you're in a good place? Is there a lot of work to be done in this transfer window coming up? Yeah, I think we're in a good place currently. As we sit here now, we've signed 5 players. Right, yeah. I think we'll probably get another, certainly 1, maybe 2 in before next week, before we start pre-season. So to have 6 new faces joining on day 1 is it's good, massive, because you can get to work straight away. Tends to what happens is in pre-season is people drip feed in and out, and you get someone in like a 2 or 3 days before the season starts, which might still happen for us. But I'm glad that we've done some business so we can get to work. So I'm confident from that point of view. But like always, you're never sure. No. You need to have a good pre-season. You need to stay injury-free to your key players. You need to just get a clear plan with everybody. This is what we're doing. Everybody knows the objective. Yeah. We need to get promoted. So that's clear. And yet we're going to need a bit of luck as usual throughout the season. But I'm confident and I'm excited about it. I know a couple of Bolton fans who were looking forward to the season. They really liked what you did when you went in. Looking forward to seeing how it evolves this season. So. I mean, good luck, obviously, with that. We're keeping an eye on that, obviously. How's the mentality changed for you because football moves on so quick, so being a player and being in that dressing room to managing the players now and seeing it, because you're only sort of, 10 years, less than 10 years out of it, really. Yeah, 33 when I'm 41 now, so 8 years. So has there been a big shift in that time, do you think, with the way the players are and how they view the game? Yeah, certainly, I think if you go back to when I was 20 and I'm going to that senior dressing room, the mentality then, the stuff that was available to you, the analysis, the data, the information, the stuff that the academies do now with young players compared to what we got. So like video preparation, there's so many like different aspects of it. It's nutritionists, sports scientists. The game's different, and so the players are different. They don't socialise the way that we socialise. The way they communicate is different. So you have to be adaptable to that and not get frustrated with the way that the younger generation are. We've got to adapt. We've got to be the ones that learn how to manage in their environment, but still push them for the standards that I believe in. My values are still the same as what Colin Harvey had me going at however many years ago. My values are the same, and that will never change. And the players' values have to follow that. But I have to learn how to manage to them, because the way Colin Harvey spoke to me, I can't speak to the players like that anymore, because you just lose them. Socially, they just couldn't deal with that that type of that type of behaviour and that type of management. They just wouldn't cope. No, you're not the first person to sit here and say that.
to be honest.
Yeah.
Without the risk of sounding like Jake Humphrey, what are your 3 non-negotiables then as a manager?
Be willing to learn. So I'm a coach, and I feel as though I've got decent enough knowledge, and also I've got an ability to listen to what people are saying to me. So like, if you're saying I want to learn about this part of the game, or this is what I want to try and improve on, then I'm there to help you. So, but if a player comes in and is not willing to put in the extras, and not willing to learn, not willing to take on information, then that's not going to work. So being able to learn, being able to commit every single day, and come in, give it 100% when you get left out of a Wembley team. Don't be a brat about it. So learn, commitment. I think more than anything, being positive and enjoying it. Like, I like an environment where you enjoy going to work. We've got the best job in the world. Like, shouldn't really call it work, but it is work. Pays the bills. But you got to go in there with a smile on your face, and I need players that buy into that. I can't be dealing with people who are drips, who are like, have to motivate them to get on the training pitch. They're so fortunate. Everybody wants to be there. So make the most of your opportunity.
Brilliant. Data is a big thing. You've already just sort of touched on it with analysts. I know you've been speaking to your analysts yourself at the day of the recording, but how important is that to you? And is it the be all and end all to you, or is it a bit of both the eye test and the data?
No, it's not the be all and end all. The eye test is still important. Still room for live scouting. Yeah, people who've been to watch certain player, because body language isn't always shown on data. How they react to adversity, how do they react when they're playing well? Do they show off? Data is hugely important, because it highlights the fact, like I mentioned with Finn and Morgan, get me 2 players that could score from zone 14. Well, they highlighted they were the best 2. Right, yeah. So that's why we went and recruited them. So it does play a huge part in your recruitment, but live scouting is important. But the most important thing for me is sitting in front of the players and getting a feel for them, like having a conversation, because a character, learning. Are they passionate about the game? Do they like talking about it? Do they want to get better? Do they enjoy football? Do they, what's the background like? If they come from a good family background, or are they like got mad crazy mates? Like, you find out a lot about people by sitting and speaking to them. So I'll always meet players before we sign them, and have that conversation and get a feel, and trust your gut, because data doesn't trust your gut. Doesn't tell you anything about your gut.
The analysis side of it, do you go into that, or is it very much like you've got analysts and they'll just bring a set of information to you, and do you know what I mean? It's like, how deep are you going to pour over that sort of analysis? How deep do you pour over that analysis? Yeah,
quite a lot, really. Yeah. So the analysts, their job is to come up with a list of players, if you like. So my head of recruitment, for example, this morning I was on a couple of videos when I went into work, showed me 2 or 3 wide players that we're looking at. Okay, so then I have a look at the 3 wide player profiles, and he puts a video package together for all 3. And that might take 8 minutes for each video profile. So I go, okay, I really like that one. So then what I would then do is go onto Y-Scout, start watching his individual clips, like on whatever we're looking for. Is it 1v1 dribbling, accelerations, crosses, assists, whatever. I'd watch his clips, and then out of the 3, then I go, okay, well, I really like this one, so I'm going to watch him in a game. So then I would pick a random game, and just go key events for that player, watch the key event, and then pick another game, watch a full game. And then I would go back to our scouts and go, well, who's seen this player live? I did. How did it go? In this game, what did he do? And that's how all the information gets compiled. So I don't do the initial pick, the 3 profiles. Right. I then go into the detail once I've picked them, and then go, okay, I like this one. And then it goes to a sporting director who then says, well, we can't afford this one because he wants 10 grand a week, and this one is only 6 grand a week, and he's 21, and we think he might be able to get better. So that's kind of how it goes. Okay, so you make your decision. You make your final decision based on all of that process, which takes ages. So when fans want to go, who are we signing tomorrow? It's not just, we want that player, we sign him tomorrow. It's like there's months and months of work gone into the background, and I get involved at the end stage, and then say, I like this one. Can we make it work?
So you're not, just so to clarify, because I want to use this for like what Everton are doing now. So you don't go, get me is your sort of first call, so like, we need a right winger, and then you just send that task off to people, or you go, I like A, B and C?
No.
So it's just like a position.
So I'll say, right, we need a winger.
Right.
And for our club, and for the way I play, the profile is already set. So what does a winger do in my team?
Okay. So if you set that, or is that?
I set that, with the director of football, and say, look, this is how I want to play this system.
Yeah.
So what's a winger got to do in this system?
Okay.
So he's got to be able to cross the ball.
Yeah.
He's got to be able to go 1v1 dribble and duels.
Yeah.
He's got to be able to shoot and be in scoring positions. From an attacking point of view. From a defensive point of view, his high pressures have got to be good. So like, does he counter press? Because that's how I want the team to defend.
Yeah.
Does he? Is he good on blocks and interceptions? All of that. So you make a profile for a winger.
Right.
So then what the data team then do is like run that profile of that data point throughout all of the leagues that you're recruiting from.
Yeah.
And a database comes into, well, there's the best 4 candidates for that profile. So then you then start watching that profile.
Yeah.
Now, there might be someone who's 35 that you go, well, all his numbers are good, but we don't want to sign a 35-year-old who's had an injury last year, so we don't want him. So who's the next one?
Yeah, okay.
So you filter it out.
Right, okay.
So then it comes filtered then through to me where these are the best wingers for your profile that you've sent. And I ask for 3. And then we go from there.
And it's trust, isn't it, of course, as well, with the people who are
it's trust that your recruitment department and your analysts are good, and their system that they're using to filter all that information is good. And the longer that you work with them people, like this is our first full window with the Bolton lot.
Yeah.
The longer you work with them, the more trust you'll gain. Like, he's got a real good eye, and actually, even though the data said this about this player, they think this profile's better because of his personality or whatever, or his situation. So you have to just sort of trust each other, which will just develop over time.
When you hear all that, you do wonder how teams get it wrong as well. Like Manchester United with their resources, or Everton have had a go and it's been wrong. But then the likes of Brighton and Brentford are lauded because they are really data heavy. Aren't they?
So I think the best way to do it is having a clear structure. Okay. So I don't know what Man United structure is like. I don't know exactly what Everton's structure is like. But when there's change in the management and a change in the director of football, well, then everyone's got a different idea. Yeah. So Brentford and Tony Bloom at Brighton, they've been together for years. So there hasn't been that much change in the departments behind the scenes. So this system that they've gone has proved that it's working. Yeah. So they're sticking with it. So Everton, for example, need to get that system now. Moyes back. The new director of football is going to be in. The new head of recruitment's going to be in, and they just need to give that time. Yeah, just let it grow. It takes time and let it grow. Yeah.
Last couple before I let you go. I know you're busy, man. Your phone's been going away there. People will be fuming. They can't get hold of you. Just quickly, what are your ambitions then?
So
you're still young, aren't you? You're a young coach, and you're hugely experienced already now. But what are your ambitions?
So short-term ambition is to get back into the Championship with Bolton. It's a fantastic club, and that's all I'm focused on. Like, it's got to be that, because if I do that, then I become a coach. Then it's had 2 promotions. I've won the league at 1. If I get a promotion with another one, 2 promotions at 41, 42, which is good, young. Then I would like to establish in the Championship. So I had 6 months with one team that did well, 6 months with another team that did well because we achieved the objective. But then not a full season with any. So I'd like to get into the Championship and go, like, come on, let's build something here with Bolton. So that would be the short term. And then the long term objective, and I don't mind saying this because you've got to have a goal, you've got to have an ambition. I want to be manager of Everton at some point, and that's, I know that might sound mad and people go, well, else should we, but like, that's got to be the dream. Again, me missus says, well, what about anybody else? There's bigger clubs than Everton, and I said, yeah, but not for me. So that's where I want to be.
Great way to finish. A great way to finish. Stephen, thank you very much for coming. I know, listen, you're busy. You're a busy man, and a current football manager's got a million jobs to do, and I just want to thank you for giving up your time. It's been tremendous. Cheers. Really insightful.
Enjoyed it.
I could have carried on because I'm loving all of the when you've got a bit more time, get you back in for a chat about the management and the analyst side of it, because I'm fascinated by that. But listen, thank you so much for coming in.
It's all right, lad. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, mate.